Right, Light Warriors, we are live. We are on the Soldier of Light's YouTube channel, and we are going to be dropping so much hot content tonight. And yes, Soldier of Light, he is prepared and he is ready for duty. How are you, brother?
Amazing, man. I'm doing so amazing. Okay, so as you guys know from the previous show, just to kind of get started, I talked about this last night on our major show. If you haven't got a chance to listen to last night's show with Jason and I, go back to the last two shows. If you want mind blowing things that are just going to be like, wow, grenades blowing up in your brain type things, the last two shows have really we're trying to put puzzle pieces together for everyone. So as you guys know, I've been fighting the dark in the 3D realm as well. And I had some issues, as I mentioned yesterday, with my mortgage, things like that. Well, today I served some papers back, and things worked out so far better than was expecting when I started to jump into the day. But we went to the courthouse in order to serve these papers, and I had to put a hedge of protection. I got near the courthouse, and I felt really sick. I started feeling sick in my stomach, and my wife felt it as well. And so I asked for a hedge of protection from God, and He put it on us, and we walked in there because you could just feel the energy being drained in this place. Unique little thing I want to share with everybody. Courthouse, so old, very beautiful inside. You can tell it was a lot of craft or quality craftsmanship went into this, whoever built it originally. Across the street is the post office. So you got the court, which is a bank. Across the street is the post office, which is another bank. And it's easy that it's right across the street. All these court papers can get served right across the street. Not a coincidence. And then caddy corner to the courthouse was a Masonic temple.
Oh,
I've never seen that before until I was down there. I'm like, holy shit. And I tell my wife, I said, I'm going to go get a match right now. I'm going to light this bitch on fire. So my wife's like, no, don't get thrown in jail for doing stupid things. So I just was like automatically saw that and just went into the fight or flight mode for me. So, but other than that, man, it's been a beautiful sunny day where I'm at, and it's nice and warm, and I'm very blessed with the beautiful souls that are in my path. And, God has got my back, and I know that. So how are you doing, man?
absolutely. No, doing great as well. And uh, yeah, I'm telling you, last night's show, I think, lit a fire under not only myself, you, but of course, a lot of different light warriors that were watching and tuning in. Absolutely extraordinary, hot content delivered by the Soldier of Light himself. And we are going to pick up kind of where we left off regarding our show from yesterday. But I'm doing great. I also want to talk a little bit about a dream that I had last night. And then, of course, it continued today while I was in my red light med bed therapy today. And I was asking, the more I'm asking my guardian, my angel team, they are giving me vision. So last night, had a dream. You and I were in the dream. We were in a tunnel, a cage. Okay. It was like a lion's den almost. And there was flames, and we were looking up, and there was a lot of dark souls around us, like looking down at us, kind of casting like negative thoughts and sayings. I guess you could call them spells, like on us, like chants. It was kind of scary. Like we were chained, but my Lord and Savior. I know your Lord and Savior as well, Jesus Christ, with us. He was down there with us, and he was saying, "Don't worry, I have you guys. Don't worry." Those were the two words. Don't worry. I did see 44's face clear as night or clear as day in this particular dream. So I did see 44. He was looking down at us, kind of almost like exalted. So I don't know if that means that he has the spirit of the Antichrist. I believe he does, but that was the dream. So then I wake up, I'm in a cold sweat, like a cold sweat. My pillow's wet. This is crazy. So I get up, I get a drink, yada yada yada. So I'm in my red light therapy today about noon, and I'm just laying there for like 30 minutes, and I'm asking for visions. I have meditation music on, and I ask my guardian team, show me more to what that dream was about. What was this dream about? And they showed me a tunnel, and it wasn't like clear, but I knew exactly we were going down tunnel and people were chained. I could only think that they were the little ones, but they were all lined up like shoulder to shoulder. Like there's no room, no space at all for any of this, for any room to move. And they were chained, and I didn't hear anything. It was just a vision. So that is what I'm kind of gathering from this. This is our mission, to expose the dark deep cult, what they're doing to the children, to the family, and that's what we kind of need. And for me, my mission, I can't only speak for myself, but is to expose the dark deep cult and to bring it back to where it first began, what this movement first began. It was to save the children, 1000%. So I'm amped, I'm pumped, and I know that we are protected, and we need to start, this truther community needs to start bringing more attention and awareness to what is going on with the family unit, with the children, 1000%. I know that's the message.
Without a doubt. I've been in many, many missions, including Mr. T being in charge of it, and missions of saving children in cages with guards and fighting dark beings. This is something that I've had many, many dreams of as well. Very vivid, very visual, just like Jason's was. It's like it's happened in reality for us, like if we're awake. That's how strong these dreams are. I've had many dreams with Jesus as well, and I've met him many times, and he's talked to me many times. And he said the same thing to my dream a few days ago with the melting cube. And he said, you made it. You've made it. So basically saying, you've made it to me, you've made it to here. Now everything's going to be okay. He says, you're ready. You're ready. That was another statement he made. You're ready. So I feel like ready means we're ready to take the next step in this evolution. Next step to awakening others. And I am 1000% what this should be about. And I feel a little bit bad about myself now within the last year, plus of being this platform, of not mentioning these types of things more often than I should have been. And it does go back to the children. Everything is about our children. And like my shirt says, I'm willing to die for my rights. Are you willing to die? And it's not a standard, just a crazy sounding statement. It's true, though, because as I mentioned to Jason, as we talked just a little bit, not about what we're doing with the show, just about what's going on in our lives. I said, if it's not us, like us as a whole, if it's not us, then who? And if it's not now, then when? We finally have to draw the line in the sand and say enough is enough. Enough is enough. That's where the precipice comes. We have our own precipice. That's what people don't realize. This is an individual movement for Q. Question everything. Now we have a collective of people reading these things on the same wavelengths, messages being passed on, so on and so forth. But the fact is, it's about your own question, your own ability, your own knowledge and understanding or overstanding. Hopefully you go to the overstanding part where you stand over it. You know enough about it. You can speak very fluently with it, so you can't be deceived any longer, because that's what the dark does. They come with a smile and a handshake. As I always mention, demons come with handshakes and smiles. Doesn't mean you see a grotesque demon or some crazy things like you see on the TV. Demon can come looking beautiful at you. And the energy that's inside of this being may not match what the outside is portraying at times. And that's the part that pissed me off about a lot of the truther movement in general. They're preying on people. They're preying on people's hope. They're preying on people's wanting to find information out. They look at it and say, you know what, I'm going to monetize that. I'm going to make it so I can make money off of this. At that point, your intention is no longer pure. You're not coming from a place of the light. Do we have bills to pay? Yes, we do. I understand this, or understand this, whatever you want to say. Believe me, we all have our battles. But that comes also down to your choice. your choice of what you want to continue to do. If you want to continue to stay in this hamster wheel, you're going to. If you want to continue to say, I'm done doing this, or I'm done doing this, I'm whatever that looks like for you, you'll know at the time, because your soul, God will tell you, it's time for you to stop, because I've seen enough. I don't want any more of this from you. It's like your father is saying, hey, get it together, man. Shaking you a little bit, like, wake up. It's time for you to wake up out of this daze. Like in the Wizard of Oz, like we mentioned yesterday,
Yeah.
the poppy field made us all drowsy, right? The straw man and the tin man, and that didn't bother them, right? It bothered Dorothy, and it bothered the dog, and it bothered the lion. So because they're breathing, they're supposed to be a live thing. So that tells me that's what they're doing. We're walking through the poppy field, like the Wizard of Oz, which makes us dope down, makes us tired, makes us just docile and just really just feminized in a general aspect. Just in general, just feminized across the board is what they want. And that's what we kind of talked about last night, was a little bit of this divine feminine and masculine. And we raised some some hackles, I think, on some of the viewers. I read some of the comments afterwards, and and there's a lot of okay, what we speak, it may come across at first of you may not understand it, what the point we're making is from a place of love, a place of light. It's not a condescending type of energy with compared to female or male, or it's not that. It's just our own interpretations of what we feel, how things are.
Right.
What do you feel, man?
No, I agree. And when I say that, like, it's time for the divine masculine to stand up, it is time for us to stand up, because the divine feminines are trying and having to do both parts. And that's what we were kind of talking about yesterday, how the dark deep cult's plan is to take the knees out of the abled men who should be the divine masculine. They get us through social media. They get us through pornography. They get us through our food. They get us through the chemtrails. They get us through the water. They get us through the normal mainstream media's programming. They get us in the K through 12, if you know what I mean. They take us men out from the knees, and this has been their plan from day one. They get us from the public speakers who do put their neck out, like Andrew Tate and others. They get taken out. They get scrubbed from social media. These boys in the K through, you know what I'm talking about, also are being feminized as well at a young age. And it shouldn't be a surprise when now you grow up and they're docile men, and the women, they're, like I said, 10% of the men are being reproduced with 80% of the women. 1,000%. And I don't blame the women for that, because who wants a beta soy boy male? Nobody. Nobody wants a beta male. It's in your genetic DNA makeup as a woman to look for a protective male who's going to make you feel comfortable and safe for you to blossom into your divine feminine. 1,000%. So I apologize. Actually, I don't apologize. That is just me clarifying what I said yesterday. And if that ruffles feathers from the feminists, we don't give a shit anymore, because this is the divine masculine standing up. I've had a mask on. I've had a mouthpiece on. I've had a mask on for too long. Even when I was on my sister's channel, I had a mask on because I couldn't speak my truth. Well, now that mask is gone. We have our Lightwire network. We're here on the Soldier of Lights network, and we are dropping truth bombs left and right. And it is time for the divine masculine to stand up. I know there's a lot more out there. It's time to stop being afraid of this shit and start standing up and fighting for our rights, our freedoms, and our children. 1,000%.
Without a doubt. Like I mentioned previously, some of you who followed some of previous broadcasts, we may not see all the benefits of what we're doing now. We're slaves without chains. The next generation that's coming will be totally enslaved.
Yeah.
in cages and treated like the animals. You know, that stuff they do underground will be above ground if we don't stand up and start to say enough is enough, man. We have to have eyes around. We have to have eyes on things. We have to pay attention because we're so compartmentalized and we're so stuck in our routines. We don't look outside the box. We're stuck. We're stuck in this box, and we need to get the hell out of that box. We need to start thinking, being aware of things. Step back from your everyday life and start to look at it from a different perspective. Is this the best I can do? Is this the best? Am I being the best version of me? And that's the situation that all of us have to battle on a daily basis. No, we're not perfect. No one is perfect. God is the only perfect being. We all have flaws, but we have to do a job every day of being better, just being better. And I told my brother this same scenario, not Jason, my other brother. And I told him this, and he got so pissed at me, literally didn't talk to me forever. And then finally the doctor, and he found some other things out. Things started crashing down on him. Things I was telling him already. Didn't want to listen to his brother. And literally another party came in and told him the same things I was telling him. And guess what? All of a sudden, change. And then he said, literally, last time I saw him, which about a week ago, he said, I just got to do better. I got to be a better me. I know that. I said, oh, but when your brother was telling you that, it was F you, man. I don't want anything to do with you. You're just talking shit to me. But when you come to your own reality based on the information that's coming from different areas, you say, hey, man, you step back and like, well, shit, maybe I'm the problem here. Because we don't take enough of that responsibility. Like we're always saying it's someone else, it's someone else, it's someone else. It's always someone else. And we are a huge catalyst to this. We just don't realize that. We all have our little flaws, our little quirks, all these things. But we have to step back and try to be a better version of you. If you did that thing yesterday, don't try not to do it again tomorrow. That's the whole scenario. Like, and it's funny. Like, I love that Elvis movie, the new one. I watch it all the time. There's so many comms in that thing. It's crazy. So, and I dig the music. So I like that movie, but I was watching it and funny thing is I had a dream about Tom Hanks, and I caught him at a school in a secret room, and he started diagramming and telling me all about the cabal's plan of how they traffic children. So we do these missions. I promise you that in our dreams, even though you may think it sounds way off the wall and insane and all that. You cannot mathematically calculate that he would have a dream similar to dreams that I've had. Same scenario, cages, children, tunnels, the dark. I mean, literally, that's the same type of, and I know many of you have also shared your experiences as well. There's a reason why we're having these things, is because we are fighting a spiritual battle. And it translates into the physical. And what I'm getting at is that I'm just really like upset with people because they're expecting someone to come in and save the day. Is there people working behind the scene? Yes, as we mentioned, but we have to do our part. Whatever that looks like, you have to be in the battle. You can't sit there and just, like Jason said, just eat your popcorn and just because you're eating your popcorn and you're just watching everything as an observer. God doesn't want observers. He works through you, through that power inside of you. Awaken that warrior, even the divine feminine. You guys are amazing. You guys are portals. You guys bring beautiful life into this world. That's so strong. That's such a beautiful thing. That's something that I would never want that opportunity to do. That's a true story. That's something that I know many of you take great pride in. My wife, the same thing. She was an amazing mom. I love my wife for how good of a mom she was. She had a shitty mom, a very abusive childhood, just like I did. And she flipped it. She broke a cycle. And we come back to this. We have to break cycles. We have to break cycles. And that's starting with you. You have to break your own cycles and break out of your own matrix.
Yeah, I'm thirsty. I've had enough popcorn. I am thirsty, and people are thirsty too. And it's about time that we start waking up and start marching out, because sitting on the popcorn, we're lazy, to be honest. And I'll be the first one to admit, yeah, I could have done a better job over the past year since I was on YouTube and now social media and having my spiritual awakening. Of course, I will be the first one to admit that I needed to do a better job at standing up and speaking out, 1,000%. But now is the time. And it is now us lighting the torch and lighting a fire under the truther community to start speaking out and up against what is happening to our families and children. And we need to start making a difference together. 1,000%. Let me go ahead and play a clip, brother, that kind of goes along with what we're talking about right now. And this will segue into let's do it. Let's do it about the children. Here it is. This is in LA Unified School District.
Stop grooming our kids! Stop grooming our kids! LA Unified! Stop grooming our kids! Are here today. You decided not to listen to our voice. We have no other choice but to do this today. We tried to do this the civil way with Miss Awakian, with all the other district members that came to that assembly. Nobody listened to us. It's too late. It's too late. That assembly is taking place today. Stop grooming our kids.
You notice that it was the majority of women speaking up and speaking out. And now it is time. I'm calling out the divine masculines and the men to do the exact same thing. If you have to take a day off from work, if you have to, do whatever sacrifice you need to do to go out and speak out, because what they're doing to our children is absolutely disgusting. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do as men. What are your thoughts on that, brother?
I agree. And like you mentioned, you see all those females, those mama bears, man. You start pissing off a mom. I know my wife, she'll put a bullet in you without a doubt if it comes down to saving her children. That's not even hesitation.
Mine too. She does not call 911. She is 911. Yeah.
So that's how it is with them. And that's how I feel like many of you are. I mean, you would give up your life and you would take them out. And that's why I feel like the men have kind of stepped back, because we've been so stuck in the hamster wheel, as I mentioned, the male energy. Not saying the females aren't either, but what I mean is that's why they're focusing on what they're doing. They've already pulled the male out of the equation. They've already dumbed down the male. And if you look at all the sitcoms and all that, where it has like a family unit, do you see how they always treat the father figure like he's a dumb goon, moron, really doesn't know anything? Al Bundy. Yeah. Even though Al Bundy was funny as shit, man, with the stuff he used to say, but they used to look at him like he was dumb. I'm just a dumb shoe salesman, So they would dumb down the male figure to say, oh, they're just big, strong oxes who don't know anything, who are dumb. So what that does also is start to knock down the masculinity of the male. Okay, are we stupid? And then the women are like, well, I don't want a stupid man. I want somebody who's going to be smart. So what does that do? It gets in the psyche of the female. And it starts to pull apart. That's why it comes back to what Jason mentioned. They're looking for the men who are strong, who are going to stay strong. They're not going to be like fold under pressure and tuck their tails between their legs and run away. It's not what they're looking for. And that's all why it's been designed that way. They started with the male, remove the masculine, because that's the threat, immediate threat. They're stronger. I mean, I know that, but men are stronger physically. That's what we're meant to do. Our bodies were meant to do physical labor, things like that. Yours were made to do different things. And they're afraid. They don't want the men to stand up. And then the women get activated. They get pissed off because of what's going on. And we're divided. The males aren't even around because somebody has to work. Somebody has to be in the hamster wheel. Somebody has to be stuck in this with that fear, the fear. Everything is fear-based. I have to pay this. I have to do this. I have this responsibility, whatever the situation is, man. And that's what they've already played the mental part to the male energy. Then they're going after the females with the energy now. That's why you see the transgender, because they don't know how to define a woman. They're going after you now specifically because they've already they took care of the males. So the ones that are around, even if you're on the fence, if you think you're an alpha male or not, hey man, if this shit bothers you, stand the hell up. That's what this is about. We got to call these demons out. And it may be scary. As I said, call these demons out. There's 187 people in the chat. I love it. 187 when I said that. So exactly right. You know what a 187 is. The whole thing about what Q says, they won't be able to walk down the street. Well, how do you think we're even going to get to that point? If you think that the military is going to wait for them to just arrest them, they're talking about us knowing the truth, holding them accountable, and hunting them, because we will. Once this gets blasted out enough of us speaking the truth about the children. I don't care if anything else you've ever listened to from any other truther, take it and throw it in the garbage. At this point, you need to focus on focus on these children and where we're going, where we've come to where we are now. But I'm saying all the truthers, that means you need to research on your own. If a truther tells you something and you see it regurgitated, maybe there's some red flags. When you regurgitate somebody else's shit, that means you don't have anything else to add to the game except your own voice. That means you're not thinking. You're mockingbirding it. We don't want mockingbirds. We want speakers. We want men and women who are ready to stand up and say it's enough. I mean, literally, did you know when it comes to littles that the number one country of children trafficking, or the number one purchasers of children and children trafficking, is the United States? Did you know who the number one supplier of children to the world is? Mexico. If that doesn't put a 1 + 1 together for you, why the border is blasted the way it is, it's to draw attention to the border, because the United States is the number one. They want it. They want to bring it in. They pay for all that, and they mule them up from Mexico, because they take all these foreign countries and they bring them through the southern border of Mexico. The cartels do. And they have those bracelets, as we mentioned, the color bracelets, all that stuff. There's a reason for it. And it's not just at the borders. Children are trafficked, and I think I mentioned children are trafficked everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah.
There's tunnels along these nice farm fields down here in Illinois, the Midwest. There's tunnels everywhere, and they actually don't even need the tunnels to traffic sometimes. They do it right in the open. Right in the open, because what are we doing? We're not paying attention. We're just focusing on our phone. We're looking down at our phones when we're walking. That's the reason why they want us distracted all the time. Information is right there for you. It keeps us focused on what we're looking to do. I got to get to work. I got to get here. You're not stepping back and observing and seeing the things that are around you, because it's around you everywhere. The sporting events. Did you know that at the sporting events, I'm going to use the NFL as an example, and the NBA is the same way, NHL, Major League Baseball, all the private suites that they have, all the, I don't know what they call them, press boxes, all those private seats that they have in these stadiums.
Right.
Did you know that they traffic the children with the specific jerseys and the numbers that they have, that these children are walking around in? And that's who they know who to bid on. And then they take them into those private suites, and then they do sick and disgusting things with these children, or these children are never seen again.
Wow.
Right in the open. And they do it wearing the jerseys of these teams. And they know who to bid on. So
wow.
That's how sick and twisted. And that comes back to the Roman times. Everything comes back from Rome. Rome never fell, by the way. The Vatican rose, was absorbed. That's all Roman. This is all Roman time stuff that we're still into now. So Rome did really conquer the world pretty much back in the day. The Roman Empire, and it just was rebranded something different. The Roman games was always to distract, bread and circuses, right? That's not a catchphrase. because when we're working. So what do we do? I'm going to give you an entertainment to take your mind off of your hectic world and your hectic day. So I'm going to do, and guess what that does? That shows battle. Those are battles. That raises the elevation, the energy to prepare you for battle. That's why all these war movies like Top Gun, Maverick, all these things that come out, it's to prepare what's coming for the war. And all of a sudden, World War III has been taking place. And then there was, like in the Maverick, even Iranian, and when they blow up the thing, it's like Iranian, like Iranian like nuclear shit or whatever they were making that they had to blow up, or they were preparing for it. So I mean, they're just telling you this stuff in the movies, and that's what the situation is all about, man. It's distraction. Everything is distraction. Everything is programming. It would not be on the TV, it would not be on the radio, and it wouldn't be on these huge internet sites if it wasn't already approved by somebody at the top who's the puppet master of what they want people to see.
Yeah.
So it's everywhere.
Absolutely. I want to play a couple of videos. We are talking about the children and absolutely discussing. I'll be the first one to admit too, like I'm no longer, I did find myself in a season of time where I would watch a baseball game, and everyone knows I would go to a Dodger game, and I'll be first to admit, I'm like, damn, I just wasted, like, just to go to a game, I just wasted like 9 hours of my life by the time it takes to drive there, get there early, watch the game, leave the traffic. Just wasted 9 hours of my life for what? They don't give two shits about their fans. They don't, and then like they're gonna have these Satanists come on June 16th. Wait for that to happen. You're gonna see me extremely lit when that happens. And I am thinking about going on that faith march that they're having on that day as well to protest this shit. So it's time for me to put my actions where my mouth is and step up and do that 1000%. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to go live. Yeah, $50 to park. You're right. It's expensive. It's horrible. Let me go ahead and play this clip. This is from Jason Shurka, and it's absolutely pretty epic. Let me go ahead and play it.
How do you take 20,000 children in the middle of New York City without anybody seeing? They are being put into buses. They are given certain clothes. Some of them were taken out in boxes. You can call them crates. You can call them caskets of dead people, although they were live children in there.
I mean, we could talk about tunnels all we want. The non-believers will say, where's the proof?
When I go into the tunnels, I can't take my phone, and if you're going to do it, the psychopaths will eliminate you. So some pictures I saw that are real, and I was surprised to see them.
But there are many children down there.
Yes. But they're not in the main rooms. They're in the hidden rooms within the walls of the tunnels.
Do you have an idea of the number of children that we're talking about?
It's huge. It's numbers you can't comprehend.
Shout out to Jason Shurka, 1000%, absolutely epic. I'm going to go ahead and find where we can watch the full unedited version of that interview. Absolute truth bombs left and right. So once I find that, I'm going to post it on Soldier of Light's description of this video. What are your thoughts about that, brother?
That's true. It's a true story. I mean, there's tunnels everywhere, and they're everywhere. And it's like you mentioned, it's not what's in the tunnel because they transport a lot of them. It's the stuff that's hidden. And that's why you're asking, why is it taking so long? The military is rescuing children, 100%. But we're talking about millions of children, millions from around the world, millions of ones that weren't even on the surface of the earth ever were born in these tunnels. Many generations of these, it's sick. And they do a lot of these tests on them. They do experiments to try to mend the human DNA with animal DNA, and there's some atrocious things that have been down there they like to experiment with. And these tunnels are multi-level. It's not just like one tunnel underneath the ground and it runs for a certain distance with walls in it. There's multiple levels to these tunnels. And the fact that they have to use specific radar and ground penetrating equipment to see what's under there. And from that point on, and in some of that, even that equipment's really hard to use because of maybe shielding and lead and all these crazy things that they put out there to kind of throw these things off, because they've thought about this stuff. So the military is working their ass off around the world. This is not just in the United States. That's what people need to realize. This isn't, I know we're focused on the US, but this is a global thing. This is everything that you see going on with our reality now has to involve the world. And it's what's going on. You're seeing this stuff in Brazil, in France. You're seeing all these types of same things, these uprisings, and these people are pissed for whatever the situation is, because this is a worldwide epidemic of sick bastards who get paid, and they come to you with a smile, and then they handshake you and give you a hug, and then they turn around and sell your child right behind you. And then your child goes missing because they watch you. They know exactly everything you do. You're being tracked. And that's the one thing that I'm telling you. Children are tracked from the moment they're born. From the moment they're born. They have your DNA. They know what's going on. That's why they take all the stuff that they do, the placenta, all that stuff, all that goes and gets taken away. All those things that they do, it's to get your DNA, to do different tests on these things. And literally, I mean, it's very nefarious, our entire existence. Hospitals are horrible places. Horrible. I mean, literally, like just the sick things that I've seen. I mean, pig and human hybrids. I've seen leper or tiger, half tiger, half human. It's whatever they can make alive. I've seen half dog, half human. I mean, literally, it's sick, these things that they're doing, because God didn't make that. God made you a dog, or God made you a human in this iteration. Whatever else it is, at some other time is different. So what they want to do is take that, and they're using all this energy. These children, it's not even the ones that they take from above. They're tracking your child from the moment they're born. They know what school your child goes to, what little league teams they play on, where they go for their gymnastics, where your churches are. I mean, they know everything about your child.
Yep.
Because they're wanting, there's a price marked on your children's head the moment they're born. As I mentioned with that birth certificate, they become a commodity. And the commodity that they like to do is that adrenochrome. They like to do those sick things to them, and it's disgusting. So that's why I want this situation. This is a big, big thing. This is a worldwide system of them. Everything they put in place it's for that purpose, is to traffic the children undetected. And it only costs you $600,000 to get diplomatic immunity, by the way, in the courts. $600,000. Do you think these multimillionaires, that's nothing for them? That's a drop in the bucket. That means they can do whatever the fuck they want, and all they got to do is they have diplomatic immunity. That's why Hillary Clinton has never been caught. That's why Bill Clinton was never caught. That's why Jeffrey Epstein was never caught. I mean, literally, because they have diplomatic immunity. Why do you think they do these things on these islands and in the sea? They actually do them in submarines. They take them on these boats, and they molest them on these boats, and they rape these children on these boats, because they're in international waters. There's no jurisdiction in international waters. And if you think Epstein Island was the only island, I'm sorry to tell you, that's a drop in the bucket.
Yep.
Richard Branson and Mr. Virgin. Why do you think he called it Virgin? You think that just came out of his head? No, because he's a fucking chomo.
Yeah.
And these bastards have had private jets and these fancy yachts, and we've been paying them for this stuff.
Yep.
I want that part to get the most across to people. We've been paying them to enslave us and to kill our children. You've been aiding in the satanic rituals for the children. We all have it, until you say I'm done. And that's what this situation was. I finally said I'm done. I'm fucking done with it. I'm not playing these games anymore, and I'm ready to it's time for the soldier of light to make it happen. And however that looks, that's why we want to push these things, man.
I agree, 1,000%. And it is time for us to stand up and to step out. And here's going to be a clip on we need to call for a movement. And that's what we're doing here. It's a peaceful movement. It's a freedom movement. We could do this absolutely free. You know, this is our freedom to do as we choose. Let's listen to the clip and then we'll have a discussion. But I absolutely love this clip.
We need to come together and do one thing: stop participating. And when we do that, the game is over. When we literally say Monday morning, we're not going to go to work. Imagine if 30 million people didn't go to work Monday. Imagine if 30 million people didn't buy gas on Monday. Imagine if 30 million people went to the bank on Monday and said, I want to withdraw all my money. They can't even give it to all 30 million because only 15% of the cash is available on hand at any given time. The rest is fake zeros and ones. That would collapse the banking system in one day. You see the power in that? You have the power. Well, we all have the power, but what's keeping us back from doing this? Fear. Oh my God, if I don't go to work, I'm going to get fired. And if they don't participate in it, and I'm the only one that doesn't show up for work, I'm going to lose out, and you're not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm not going to be able to make my car payment, and so forth and so on. You see the trap they have us in? They have us in this system where we're afraid to work together. Man, we're brothers. We should be, link up. Let's do this together.
Absolutely. It is time for us to link up and grab our arms and march forward and fight back against these politicians, the dark deep cult, all of the corrupt matrices that we have. We need to break them. We need to break them. We already know we are living in a matrix. So what are we going to do about it? The next step is to take action. We're already awake. Now it's time for us to step forward and take action. Brother, you've been preaching this since the day I met you, and you and I are in the same agreement. That was the inspiration for me to kind of branch out on my own and have that Light Warrior Network. And the first person that came into my mind, who is going to go into battle with me, who is fearless, who is not who is unapologetic, who is another alpha male ready to step up. And I'm like, it's my brother. It's Jason. It's a soldier of light. And I called you that day where I got disappointing news, but it's not disappointing. It turned and is turning into something absolutely beautiful that we are going to be connecting a whole different group of people. Brother, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. I feel like this was something God wanted me to do, push me out into this. The way honestly, it just, things kind of came together, as I mentioned. I mean, we've had separations of energies and we've had bringing togethers of energies. We've had some that have gone away and some that have come back because they've gone on their journeys. They had to learn what they had to learn at that time. So it's all about divine timing. And I feel like this is the biggest thing is I've always been this way. I've always been the way I am. I present to you is the way I am all day, every day. I don't change for people. And I feel like that's been the most peaceful thing that I've ever been. My mom used to always get on me too. She's like, if your friends jump off a bridge, are you going to jump off a bridge? I'm like, I used to say, well, it depends if they live or not. I would maybe try it. So, but that was my way of thinking. But she was always telling me, think outside the box. Don't follow everybody. Don't be a follower, be a leader. And I've always said the same thing to my children. We want leaders. You need to be a leader of yourself, not leader of others. We don't need somebody to guide us what we need to do. The leader needs to come from you. Taking action. Taking action, sticking to what you say. If your word is nothing in this world, if you're not a follow through on what you say type of man or woman, then your word means nothing.
Right.
Your word means nothing. And that your word is all you have in this world, literally, because people are going to base off their actions, how they feel about you based on your actions, the things that you say, the things that you do, if you back them up. And some people are going to resonate with that and say, dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's empowering. I want to be like that. I wish I could be a little more like that. Or it could be the other way where they say, you know what, that guy's a total dick. I don't like him. He speaks what he wants. He just, he gets on my nerves. He rubs me the wrong way. That's okay. That's how God made me. And I accept that and I embrace that. And just like you, whatever your quirkiness is, Jason, or whoever's in this chat, listening, whoever may be listening, whatever your quirkiness is, that's your specialty that God made you. You may rub people wrong sometimes, but that's okay. Speak your mind. I got on my wife today. because she was like, oh, I was going to wear this. She looked at something. She was going to wear something. And she's like, I wouldn't wear that probably here, but I'd wear it at this place or this event. I'm like, why not? Why wouldn't you just wear it all the time? And she said, well, it's because, I just want to, feel like it's more appropriate for each setting. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like, so you're changing who you are based on what the perception you think others may say or think about you. I said, is that you being you? Or is that you being you at different times or for different people? And she said, well, it's me telling me what I'm going to do. I said, okay. She always flips it that way. It's funny, but I'm just kind of got on her. It's like, hey, you know what I mean? That's not what this is about. You're strong, be how you are. And that's what this whole thing is about, man, is just being your authentic self. And I feel many of us don't even know who the hell our authentic self is.
I agree.
I mean, I'm learning myself the more, and I used to be an angry man, like from all of my experiences and all of my abuse and all these things that happened and all the violent places I've been around the world in the military and things like that. So I was around violence, and I was always kind of angry, and I didn't know how to deal with things except for anger. And that was the worst thing I could have done, is just be angry, be pissed. And people could, like in traffic, somebody could just be, I could be driving, maybe the traffic is slow, the lights are, I'm pissed off for some stupid reason. And I'm pissed at the people around me, and they're stuck in this shit too. But I'm blaming somebody. I have to blame somebody. That comes back to what we talked about, blaming someone else. And it's my own things that I had to deal with. That's what this whole thing is about, is just focusing on that. And yes, I mean, this stuff is so insidious, and it's right. When enough is enough, and that's what the precipice is, as I mentioned yesterday, a precipice looks different for each one of us. When you've had your fill, God will say, hey, it's time. God told me, stop paying them. Stop paying your mortgage. Stop paying your car. Stop being focused on that. That's very negative thinking. That's very low energy. There's remedy involved that the knowledge started coming to me. I started getting these things. Stuff was getting delivered to me without me asking, literally to my doorstep. And this is all the information that's been put in my path in order for me to succeed with what I'm doing by pulling myself out of the systems. And that's what I've done. I pulled myself out. So for my own journey, I'm only speaking for myself. I pulled myself out. I'm American State National. I pulled myself out of that citizenship. Besides that, I mean, I work on spirituality. It's always been about spirituality for me. And since like I mentioned in Florida, when I was visiting Florida in Pensacola, I was laying on the ground, and I saw in between dimensions that day on the beach. I had my head up against the sand, and I was looking up, and I saw beautiful sparkles everywhere in our sky. It was so beautiful. And I told my wife, I was like, I see another dimension here. And she's like, what? I don't see what you're saying. She laid down next to me, and as soon as I touched her, she goes, oh my God, I see what you see. And I was like, what do you see? I didn't tell her what I saw. And she was explaining what she was seeing, and this is what I was seeing. So that's how the energy works. I mean, literally, the energy is there. And it was between the sun, and I was literally halfway between the sun and the moon on the beach. So I feel like that energy, I was making like a nice pattern or a triangulation of the energy, and it was so powerful. And I just want people to know that. I mean, that energy comes from within. Yeah. This strength comes from within. And this is not me preaching to anybody. This literally is, we get knocked down. That's what they've been doing to us from birth. Do we get back up, or do we cry and let them go? We cannot continue to get knocked down and stay down and be crying anymore. It's time for us to start to get this knowledge together, educate each other, at least drop a little truth bomb here and there for somebody to go reach. If you don't believe me, tell somebody. If you don't believe me, here, give them a clip, give them something to research. At least throw that grenade out there. And if anything, keep going back to the children. And then get statistics. How many children go missing every year? They may not believe the CPS and our government. And Susan, by the way, if our government military is cleaning this up, it doesn't make sense that our own government is also involved as bad ones. Which is it?
Yeah.
Our government is the #1 trafficker of children, guns, and drugs. Yeah. I'm sorry to say. There's a good faction in the military, and there's a bad faction in the military. So they have to clean house in the military first before they go through the other actions. They're removing all the bad players, getting all the chess pieces moved. And then once that board is clear, then they go in and they can focus on rescuing. They had to clear the board in order to rescue. So now that's what this mission has been branched to, is rescuing after the fact that they've already removed the head of the snake. So there is good and bad military for sure, but the light has already, they know the light is already, they watch everything that's going on with the dark. They know, and they're tracking this stuff. They know.
Absolutely. And what a beautiful segue into the next video. And this was going back to April of 2020. And remember back in Central Park, New York, and they had the kind of like the medical tents and then the ship. And they were kind of getting it all set up for the people who were supposedly to have the virus and to kind of, well, it wasn't that at all. This is going to be a video of a nurse who was at Ground Zero in Central Park where they had the quarantine for the virus. So, and it wasn't about the virus. And this is a video in regards to the good military and the operations that are underway.
The ships Mercy and Comfort that were sent from Trump to New York, we just have confirmed information right now that they sent those ships, those highly equipped ships, to take care of children rescued from tunnel system under Central Park in New York. Children that were born in sex slavery in these tunnel systems, kept as sex slaves. They are deformed and completely shattered and broken. I just ask you to stand with these children right now and pray. The ships Mercy and
So there's, as we can see, the military rescuing children who were underneath the tunnels in Central Park in New York. That was back in 2020. We know that there are other missions that are going on too that are successful. But like what the Soldier of Light is saying, there's a good military and then there's a bad military. And we are trying, or what they're trying to do is exactly how we explained it. They have to be taken off the chessboard before other actions can be taking place. But we have a role to do. In the meantime, going back to the cue board, they're not going to be able to walk in the streets. Well, they're able to walk in the streets just fine right now because we're at home waiting for a savior, or we're at home eating our popcorn, or we're at home watching the 5th regurgitated truther video regarding the same information. Nothing is happening unless we start to wake up and start to put out the truth and have action. Faith without works is dead. And that's exactly what is happening right now. It is dead. We need to start waking up and producing ourselves. The end is now, brother. It's end game. This is it.
I refuse to let my grandson grow up in an environment like that. And it's heartbreaking. Okay. It's heartbreaking that there have been children that all they've ever known is abuse. All they've ever known is evil. All they've ever known is just destruction. And if enough of us get this information out and blast these information out, if pictures, whatever it looks like, things that are coming up, enough of this stuff gets put out, enough of these people see these atrocities, literally like the bruises, the abuse, these things that they may see, these deformities because of the abuse. They're stuck in these tiny cages. That's why they get deformed and all these things, and the inbreeding, all these things that literally happens that they've done purposely. It's to spit in the face of God. And if that's not enough to ignite your soul as a man or woman, just look at it this way. Think if it was your child. Even if you don't have a child, even just say you did. If that's your child that went missing, knowing that these atrocities are happening to children across the world, and that these demons who come with handshakes and smiles are the ones doing it, And then they're flaunting it in front of us with their pedophile symbols and their numerology and all their little fork tongue languages. That's what this situation is about. We have to educate ourselves. And you may sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but one of these days there's gonna be some stuff coming out. I know it. It's about these children. That will be the one uniting thing across the world, unless you're a demon, and then we'll go after you. But good-hearted people, that's what they want. And I always ask God to protect the children. Ask God to protect the light beings who are fighting for the children, fighting for this stuff. And I refuse for that to be the case. And I will give my life 1,000% for any child that needs somebody to protect them. And if I ever see something happening, that will be the last time that person ever walks the face of the earth.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yep.
And that's not a threat. That's a promise.
Absolutely. Not for entertainment purposes only. It's 1,000% factual. It's complete bullshit what's going on with the CPS, with the church, with every entertainment industry. It's rampant. So what we need to do is to fight back and consciously look at where we spend our money, our time, and what we need to do to move forward in this battle and in this war. Both divine. I mean, I'm coming back to the divine masculines. We need to step up. This is an embarrassment. It really is. It really is an embarrassment. And Moniqueness had a question in regards to how can we teach boys how to be men if they are away. So let me kind of dissect this right now. I'm not sure how old they are, but I'll kind of break it down a little bit. And then I know SOULdier has his input as well. The first 7 years of life, your child's brain is like a sponge. They call it like the brain is in the waves of theta. So whatever you are doing, programming, the first 7 years of life, most important. That's going to make the programming much easier to dissect and get out of as they mature and get older. And I don't know how old they are, but if they are, I'm going to go after the churches right now, and I don't really care because I could absolutely, like, I'm victim of this right now. I'm not saying all churches are bad. I'm not saying the people are bad. What I'm saying is the general message on what they are trying to portray, what the Bible says, turn the other cheek. They are just as guilty as demasculating the men as any other industry is what the church is. I've been in church. I didn't grow up in the church, but in my adult life, I was in the church for about 7 to 8 years. And the young adults, oh my God, talk about soy boys and beta males. I was a square in a round circle, if you know what I mean. And it is absolutely disgusting what they are doing in, I'm not saying all churches, but just the young adult church that I was in. And what I'm seeing the church being dead. And the works that they're doing, you could sit in a church and read the Bible left and right. But if you have no growth, no action, no progress inside your own house, let alone your own community, then you know the message is dead. And they don't speak about the issues of the medicine. They don't talk about the trafficking. They don't talk about the children. They don't talk about the programming. They don't talk about anything except make sure you give 10%. Make sure you give 10% of your paycheck. Why? So you can have the pastor live in a multi-million-dollar home and his children live in homes and his children's children driving brand new cars. And like, who paid for that? The church. But you don't speak about issues that are actually harming your community and ultimately the people inside your own church who are giving you their hard-earned dollars. It's all a game. It's all a matrix. And trying to, okay. So mom said we went to church when he was young. Well, we did in and out, but we didn't go regularly. Let's just be honest. We didn't go regularly. Because my mom, a single mom, had to be both a divine masculine and divine feminine, and we had to work 7 days a week. So But let me get back on focus here. The church is just as guilty as making these men into soy boys. So answering Monique's question, if they are going to church, I'm telling you, I would say get out of the church. Get out of the church. Get out of the church and program your own children. You could read the Bible. You could still have faith, but get them out of the church. They said so many awful and mean things. The reason why I left is because, one, they didn't believe in psychology, which is complete and utter bullshit. And they didn't like me going in and helping children. There it is. That's the whole main thing. I had 3 pastors say, "What are you doing? Why are you going to help children in this?" Well, there it is, people. That's all I needed to know. And I was out. I was out the door and I never looked back. And I haven't been happier. So trying to answer Monique's question, the first 7 years, very important. And then get them out of matrix-based systems. And I don't know if homeschooling is an option. That could be an option, or a charter school, or anything is better than what is provided. And then absolutely trying just to get out of all of the different matrices, all of them. But I'm going after the church, 1,000%. What are your thoughts, brother?
I would say from Moniqueness, the best thing I could say, what God just told me and what I just got in my head, was keep telling if you're talking about your sons or whoever you're speaking of, keep reassuring them they're strong men. You're someone's going to be someone's husband, someone's provider, someone's protector. That's what, those types of things that you would consistently build them up, build your male energy up, because what's happening is the male energy, when they're young, they're getting crushed. They're getting destroyed. Everyone gets a trophy. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to work out beautifully. And if you don't like what happened, you can always complain, and everyone will come together and it'll work out. And that's not the case. I'm not saying, make them competitive or anything like that. What I mean is just tell them that they're strong. You tell them that, this is something. You speak your mind. If you feel this is what's going on, you always speak your truth. Build them up. Even if it sounds trivial, they do something simple, like awesome, but reassure them once in a while that you're a strong young man. You're going to be a strong man when you're older. You're going to do great things. Those are things that you continually build that energy up, where he's going to want to be a strong male. He's going to want to help the others who are maybe a little weaker than he is. That's the thing, that a male energy, if you're talking from being a single parent, that's the message that I always taught my son, was that same thing. And he was my stepson that I raised since he was 4, but I raised him, and he still takes those lessons today, even though he hated me for them sometimes. But it was the fact of he knew he took my lessons, and just kind of, it's building them up, because they're not built up enough from the home. Because most of the time they're not even built up at the schools. They're not built up in the churches. They send them home with homework, and then they don't understand things, or, that's what it is. They don't understand their homework. They don't understand this. They feel like they're being, they don't understand. They don't feel good. They don't feel like they're connecting. And then what they're doing is that's lowering the vibration of their masculine energy. And then the mother steps in. If that's the only one who's around, he's going to look to mom. So mom, at that point, you got to say, even if it's hard for you to go through that, still reiterate at the end, great job. High five. You're awesome. That's building them up from the moment that you can start molding that brain into being a confident male. God made you a strong, beautiful man to come here and do wonderful things since they're little, and start to continually build that up and build that confidence. So when they're up and they're older, this is going to be second nature. They're going to be a leader in their own right around their peers, because they're going to just want to step out. I know that. I've trained young children in sports and all that, and made leaders out of quiet young men who just didn't know how to express themselves. And once I gave them that opportunity and showed them how to do it, they took it and ran with it and became amazing, amazing men. So they still contact me to this day from elementary school. And it's just amazing things like that. And their parents tell me, thank you very much. And these are parents that call me because I had such an impact on their sons and with the situation, and that's parents even telling me this. So that means some parents understand or don't know how to parent very well, because we're not taught these things, because that was taken out of the home.
Yep.
The mother and the father, you're supposed to learn by that example. Well, if
Right.
the father's not in there, how can you learn from that example?
Exactly right.
If the mother's not in the home, how can you learn from that example of what you're supposed to do? So you go off of what they show you on TV. You go off of what they show you on the internet. That's why kids are stuck in those screens, getting programmed to what they should be like, what they should like. That's why it's easy for them to throw the little transgender agenda at them, and this is what you want to be. And they're making cartoons with girls kissing girls and boys kissing boys and making it normal, like that's what we're supposed to do. So that's what this is all about, just being as active as you can and just keep building them up. Just keep building that confidence up. When they're knocked down, just reiterate, you're a strong man. Since you're talking about the male, you're a strong man. You're going to be a strong man someday. This is the things that you're going to go through. That's what we need to do. Just keep building that foundation for them.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you touched upon you being kind of like that male role model to those boys. I believe you coached football, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's so important to have a positive male role model in that child's life. And we're talking specifically about these boys. That's extremely important for everyone. And if they have a beta or a soy boy, get them out of the picture, 1000%. Like, but once again, we're preaching to the divine feminines. Do you know like what we are trying? You know what I'm saying? There has to be positive male role models, and they're out there, but they are being censored. They're being censored. Even R45 censored. Andrew Tate censored. And I know there's a lot more. They're just not coming into my mind, but they're all censored. I mean, it's pretty sad that I have to tell my little starseed that dad as a boy, Avery, you're a girl, but I'm teaching her things that we shouldn't have to teach, but we have to. Like, Woody's a boy, Jesse's a girl. Only girls can have babies. Only daddies and mommies can have a baby. Like, she's only 3, she'll be 4 in a couple of days, but this is where we are in our world right now. We have to teach the basics from day one. From day one.
Absolutely. Yes, L, I agree. Women do need to raise men up too. It's very important. That's where this whole, if both parents are involved, what the man is going to show them from the male perspective, the things that was been passed down to him from his father and his father's father and so on and so forth. That's what it's meant to do. And you're right. The females are supposed to also share things with them, how to be compassionate.
Yeah.
A lot more times. They need that softness, that reassurance, that loving energy maybe that they may not get. They don't feel that same connection maybe with dad that they did with mom, because you came from the body of your mother. So there's always that connection there. And so I always look to my mom. My mom was kind of, even though I had father figures in my life, shitty. They taught me everything of what not to do. That's what I learned from them, of what not to do. My mom was running both hats pretty much. She put a lot on me. And I was like the father figure for my brothers. And she told me when she was dying, that I'm sorry I put that much pressure on you. I didn't know I was doing that at the time. And I said, that's okay, Mom. And my brothers still look to me to this day almost, and they have a dad, not the same dad as me, but they still look to me for answers more than they do their own father. And I'm only 2 years older than my youngest brother, or my younger brother, and 6 years older than my youngest brother. So it's all about, I feel like that's why a lot of us have these issues. They've come into this, that God has put you specifically in these families. Okay. God put me in my family specifically because we were there. We were a shining light for them, to the weaker energies around us. And I hate to say that, but there's a lot of weaker energies around us. So they put us into there to, even if it's bad or we feel it's bad at the time, there's a purpose why we're there. You're there, and God says you're strong enough to put you here. And I put you there for a reason. You're here to change things, to help this situation so it doesn't continue to happen. That's why a lot of us have had these similar experiences, abusive childhoods, missing parents out of their divorces, moving around a lot because of money issues, whatever the situation is. It was meant to do this by design. And that's why I want people to know it takes two if you can. I mean, or if the mother's doing both jobs, try to do your best of nurturing, but also kind of reassure him all the time that he's a strong male. If it's a man, or if it's your daughter, you're a strong woman. This is something you need to do. It's all about building the strength in the children, whoever children you have. And if you're a mentor to others, and the same thing with me, like, I mean, I have players, like, I would literally go to their house, drive 20 minutes to their house to pick them up for practice and drive them back to the field, because their single mom was trying to work. And even if they couldn't afford the football, I might try to help them about getting them to be able to play if they wanted to play, and from a good place, and just started talking to them like a man, or like a mentor would, or a female mentor as well, just from a place of knowledge, and making them feel welcome, making them feel important, making them feel strong, because they don't get that enough. They don't get enough of that building up from the who they look to. And you'll believe, okay, I saw this in Texas. Little boy, he's probably about 6, maybe 7 at the time. He was 6 or 7. He was walking, and his parents were in front of him, and they was right there in front of the hotel. He had a little sister behind him, and his little sister was probably 3, maybe 2, 3. She was walking barely, and the boy did some motion. He was walking, and the boy like jumped up and did this thing like with his arm. Well, the little girl watched him, and as soon as she got to the same spot that her brother did, she jumped up and did the same thing that her brother did. And he wasn't even talking to her. So that tells me it's the monkey see, monkey do. They're very moldable at that point. So they're going to see from an example of someone who's already older than them. That's why it was meant to be originally in the schools, where the older children would mentor the younger children, teach them, make them part of the group as a whole. And then that's been divided too, because they don't want that. They want to segregate it and separate it. They want the older kids to be with the older kids and in their own grades, and that's it. It's very compartmentalized. It's like in prison, the same way in prison. You have general pop, and then you have, solitary and special wards for special prisoners. It's the same thing. It's segregation. Everything is segregated because it's easier. And what came to me last night when Jason was talking about this dream, or I forget, I just kept popped in my head. God said, don't forget to tell him about the dream. I got a dream of cities. Okay. And I got cattle. I got herds of cattle going into cities. And it tells me that's what they want. This is them segregating. Okay. So this is like a big cattle pen. Cities are like big cattle pens. And then they put all the masses into these skyscraper cities. So those are pens. Those are cattle pens. And I keep getting these things as that's what they've been treating us like. It's okay, segregation. So they segregate into the city. They pull some out into the country. They pull different grades here, different colleges, and different, you're white, I'm black, you're male, I'm female, I'm gay, you're straight, you're a patriot, I'm not a patriot, you're a Democrat, I'm a liberal, or I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican. All this stuff, if you notice, it's all the same shit with a different name. Yeah. That's why we need to band together, because we're so fighting each other. And guess what they're doing? They're laughing at us, and they're destroying our children. Physically, mentally, sexually, chemically, spiritually, everything.
Yeah.
It's sick, man. It's just sickening when you sit back and you understand and you go down these rabbit holes. There's a lot of them. But it all goes back to the central theme: your children, your children, your children.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's spoiler alert. If you want to trigger a liberal, turn off your video right now if you're a liberal watching, because you're going to get triggered. Here's a little clip I want to play.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So love that clip from Kindergarten Cop. It's just sometimes it's just sickening in the world in which we live in right now. And we could open up another can of worms on kind of what is happening if we flip the coin and the absence of that male role model in the home, and what that does to young girls. And if they don't see a positive role model in the young girl, then they grow up and they give their love and affection to a man or to a boy. I mean, saying a man who they shouldn't be giving it to because they never had that male role model growing up. And then maybe they have a kid, then they get divorced, or they weren't even married, and then the cycle starts again. So that's another side of the coin that we could talk hours about the importance of a positive male role model, not just in a boy life, but also in a girl's life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right, Monique. Most women do tend to marry their dad. My wife is the total opposite. I'm the total opposite of her dad. I'm loudmouthed. I'm very, very outspoken. I'm combative if I need to be. I'm very headstrong when it comes to things. Her father is very quiet, very soy boy, I watched literally a grown man threaten his wife with physical harm. And he just sat there, and I started hearing it. I walked in front of this gentleman and I said, hey, you need to move on or we're going to have a real problem here. And that shouldn't be my place to do that. It's not my wife, but I'm not going to sit there and watch a grown man talk to a female like that, because that's what a lot of this is. There's no dividing line. That's what the situation is. Men are supposed to protect the women and their children. And I know this may sound like old school feminist stuff, or this has nothing to do with that. That's what our job is. God made us strong and he made us larger than women for that purpose, to do physical work, to protect, to be the warrior, and what the female needs and the children need. That's what they're supposed to look to. And Jason is 100% right that God gave us this, and if it gave us these abilities as men, and if they don't have, if the women or the females don't have that male role model to look to, because they look at both of us, they look at, okay, do I feel secure around my dad? Does my dad piss me off? Then they're going to look for something that's opposite of what that is. So your goal is to always try to keep them as even keeled, as even as possible, but hold them accountable. I know a lot of the daughters and the dads, they have them wrapped around their fingers, but you know what? It's time you have to hold them accountable. They have to see that energy from you, even if it's not what you want it to be. Of course, we want it to be smiles and hugs and kisses all the time, but there's times when it can be that way. You have to let them know that when things are wrong. Just like God made you beautiful females, we can't give birth. We can help create it, but we can't give it. God gave you that ability. Your frame is different than ours. Your makeup is different than ours. Your gene pool is different than ours. I mean, literally, it's like the DNA is different because our DNA sync together to create a beautiful life. So whatever that looks like for the female energy, nurturing, that's a nurture. I keep seeing nurturing. It's the nurturing part. And yes, they're strong women. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
We know women will pick up, like I said, the mama bears, and they'll hit you over the head with a hammer or whatever they have. That's what they'll do. We're not talking about that, but I mean the nurturing part. When I had a shitty day or something going on, my mom would always kind of be the one to just say, hey, what's going on, from a softer perspective than a male, because the males in my life didn't either care, or it was, don't show weakness. Don't show weakness. I'll give you a reason to cry. Those types of things. That's what I mean. There's so much of what's been passed down and what's been manipulated about what you should be as a man, what you should be as a woman. And that there is a difference between men and women. There's none of this.
There is.
You can be whatever you want to be. You can be whatever you want to call yourself. But God, if you either were born with an innie or you're born with an outie, that's the two situations that it is. And I'm sorry to tell you, only women can have babies. You can manipulate all of your skin and get fake phalluses put down there that you take off of your arm and all that. But guess what? You still can't. It doesn't function like a male organ. It never will. It's just for looks. Just say, I got one. Why? Why do you want one if it's not to be used for the purpose it's supposed to be used for? Just like men who cut theirs off and tuck it in. It's not a functioning type of organ. It really isn't. And I was reading about some of that stuff and I was dumbfounded.
Yeah.
They have to put expanders in there and all these things. They have to consistently do. They get plenty of infections because of the pubic hair that gets in there infection. There's so much disgusting things that come along with this. Why would you want that? Be a woman. Okay, if you want to be a butch woman, be a butch woman. Okay, high five, man. Go do your thing. But God made you a woman, not a man. This whole programming is what got people all screwed up.
Man.
But it also comes back to the soy boys. And I'm only picking on the men because we don't do enough as what we're supposed to do as men. So I call it, you keep getting a bitch man after a bitch man after a bitch man. Guess what? A woman's going to say, eventually they're going to say, you know, I might as well be with a bitch man. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that as a derogatory term. I'm just saying that's what's in my head. If you continue, that's what they see. That's the pattern. They're like, well, I might as well just go that way then, because they're not getting it done on this end. You're not getting it done on this end. You're not doing your job. And we have a job to do, which is populate the earth and then protect God's beautiful gifts that are brought around the world. We have abundance of so much thing, so many abundance, all the resources, so many things. There's no such thing as water shortage. There's no such thing as food shortages. There's no such thing as freaking climate change. We're going to have cycles of sometimes the earth is a little cooler, sometimes a little warmer. That's how it's supposed to work. It balances itself. There's no such thing as the shit that they're telling you. It's just for fear. It's just to program you. It's just to keep you. That's the same. Everything is programming, and it keeps hitting you and hitting you everywhere you look, everywhere you see something in the news, everywhere on the internet, all these. I mean, literally social media. Social media was used. They purposely brought that out, not only to keep track of you, like through DARPA, which became Facebook. That's a government-owned CIA. All these are owned by the CIA. Even Mr. Elon Musk's Twitter, he still has CIA operatives in there. I guarantee it.
Oh, yeah.
So if he tells you, we got rid of the CIA, no, they haven't.
No.
So they just tell us that so that it makes you have the illusion of choice. Well, this platform is better than this one, Telegram. Well, Telegram is uncensored. Bullshit. That's owned by the cabal too. Rumble is not like YouTube. Yeah, Rumble isn't like YouTube, but it's the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
They censor certain things, some things they don't censor. So it's to make you go to another platform, and they're going to collect money from there. It's all the cycle of the money and getting to your children to indoctrinate them into the next generation and the next generation and next generation. And then we eventually forget who the hell we are.
Yes.
We don't know what a man is. We don't know what a woman is. We don't even know how to make babies in the future. We're sterile because of all the poisons and all the things. That's what they want us to go to, become sterile eunuchs.
Well, we got two Audis over here on a Monday dropping some hot content here with the Soldier of Light and the Prince of Peace. Two Audis, 1,000%. We're out.
And if you don't have an Audi, just blow on your thumb real hard. It'll pop out.
I'm done. Absolutely.
That was just a little
absolutely dropping hot content. But you know, me as a psychologist, and what I always do is, like, I don't listen to what people say. I look at their behavior. Okay.
Yeah.
Look at their behavior, and the majority of the transgenders are males turning into females. Majority. I think it's like, I read it was about 80 to almost 90%. Hardly ever do you see a female turning into a man. And that's how I know it's a matrix play 1,000%, and how the feminist movement and what they are doing, the dark deep cult undertaking the men with so many different things coming at them, is that they see these masculine women and they say, as a boy, oh, I want to be like that as that woman, because you see the masculine. It's all a charade. It's all an illusion. That's why you see the majority of the transgendered sex changes paid by your American tax dollars are female or males turning into female. It's absolutely disgusting.
Okay. So I got a download. We're being poisoned through the water for the hormones majority. And here's what happens. They started birth control. The birth control pills that women take.
Yeah.
They urinate into the toilets. All those hormones go out into the urine. And then they say they process the chemicals. There's still estrogen flowing all through that water, and we drink it. So that's a huge part of this. And like I mentioned, in the shave gels, in the everything you put in your deodorants, your shave, your lotions, anything with fragrance. If it says fragrance on the back of your bottle, it's poison for you, and it really throws your hormones off for females and men. So it's to take it away from you having the ability to make a baby, because they don't want us spreading God's joy. They want to crush it. They want to kill it. So that's why this whole thing, it really has a lot to do with the birth control, because God says, populate the earth, be good stewards with it, but populate it, right?
Right.
So what does all the governments around the world tell us to do? Well, no, don't have too many kids because you can't afford them. Don't do this, don't do that. And then they're poisoning you. Their estrogens are going all over the place. The testosterone is in the toilet. Like the last 50 years, as the testosterone has been in the garbage. Then they give you poisons, all these injections that you can get to help your hormones and men's testosterone. And that stuff just kills your kidneys, kills your liver. I mean, even though it's supposed to help you make you feel better, it might. But you're getting poisoned faster than that shit works a lot of times. So that's all about the situation. Anything with fragrance in it, that's a big thing. Watch that. Look on the back of your bottle. It's pretty much on everything. If it says fragrance, very poison. Very, very, very hormonal. So it's in the water. These women who are think of how many young women are taking birth control. Young ones, even right in high school.
Yeah. Some
of them do it because it's for their periods, to help them if they have really bad periods. So some take it for that. Some take it because they're, for sexually active or want to be sexually active. That's another way that they mess with your daughter's hormones, is through that shit. It throws off your hormonal level. It's purposely to make it so you can't have children. And then it comes back to the 10% of the males having these babies. Well, then you're like, well, there's no father figures in the home. Well, only 10%. If you think about it, having babies with 80%, there's going to only be so many of us in so many places at one time. So that's all by design. All of this. And you're right. You can put makeup on and rouge and fancy eyelashes and make yourself look pretty and call yourself whatever you want to call yourself and wear a dress and put some fake boobs on and, cut your thing off. You're still going to die a freaking man. God made you. You're born a man. You're going to die a man. That's how it works. Maybe in the next life you'll be a female. I don't know. Same thing with a woman. You can cut your skin and make an Audi and all that stuff, but you're still going to have the hormonal problems that you had as a woman in the first place. That shit don't go away because you say, I'm a man now. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. And I'm sick of these people trying to tell you that this is exactly what it's supposed to be. I'm telling you, you're wrong. I can be whatever I want. Okay, you can be what you want. I can be a purple giraffe that I can walk around in if I want to.
I'm a dragon.
I'm still a man. That's what I'm talking about. That's the shit that bothers me, is everyone tells us what we should think, what we should do. And if you don't agree with them, they try to crush you. Well, guess what? Fuck off. That's what I say with that.
Exactly. Seriously. Yes. Fuck off. We have Audis and we're proud of it. Brother, you're telling me that there's only two genders? There's only two?
Only two, man.
Bro.
Trump even said that on his speech. There's only two. God only made men and women, period.
Yeah.
So it's I feel like not enough of this shit has been said. And I know a lot of you are thinking the stuff that we're saying.
Oh, yeah.
People are afraid to say because they're afraid to get censored. They're afraid to get ganged up on. I could give two shits, man. I really could. I don't care. If you want to get some, come get some. That's all I'm saying. So
it's in the LBGTQ plus. Like, I don't know what the plus is, but if there's the B in there, that's bi. Bi means two. So right. Even in their slogan, they are saying that there's only two genders. So I'm telling you guys, everyone wants to say this shit, but they're afraid. Publicly, they're afraid. They might say it in their home, but you know what I'm saying? Like, publicly, fuck it. Write another letter. I'm okay.
Exactly.
I'm my fucking self.
Right. God made Adam and Eve, right?
Yes.
Literally. That's what, I mean, even if that's a lie, I mean, I don't know if I think there is an Adam and Eve, and I really believe that. But I feel like everything there's a reason. God made a man and he made a woman. He made the woman so you would know. This is a little joke for you. He made the woman, so that's why he calls it woman. Whoa, man. Whoa, man. Like
Whoa.
that's why he brought women into this world and said, hey, whoa, man. Whoa, man. You know, like slow it down here. You're going too gung-ho and you can't be by yourself. And I'm going to tell you this. That's why Satan went after the female. He went after the female. And it wasn't because she was easier to manipulate. It's because he knew he can get to the male through the female.
Yep.
So that's why he started going to her first to manipulate her. That's what you're seeing still play out to this day. The male's been, so she took Adam out of the picture because Adam messed up and did what he did, supposedly is what the Bible says. But that was the story back then about the male being removed from the freaking equation right there. And that's what they've been doing this whole time. That's the satanic agenda. Remove the male, work on the female, confuse them, cause disruption so we don't really know what a male or a female is, or a man or a woman, whatever you want to call them. And let's confuse the world. So every generation after this will have questions. And if they're afraid to speak up, they're afraid to speak out. Like that little boy said, boys have penises and girls have vaginas. I'd be like, high five, little dude.
Yeah.
Because that you're just born. You're going to look down and be like, okay, that doesn't match what I have. So that means you're different than me. I mean, even little children, and they don't care about what the gender is. They just play to play. They could give two shits about anything. Right. We're the ones as parents that start the segregation as well. Well, don't play with them. Don't play with that kid. Don't play with them. Oh, I don't want you playing with that boy because you're a little girl. Shit like that. We start to segregate as parents because our fears of things we've been programmed into. And kids just want to play. They don't care.
Right.
That's where this all comes back to. Everything is literally children. That's why this is the biggest show when it comes to this stuff. And it boils down to us taking responsibility, as I mentioned. We can always push off. And everyone who says that you're wrong, oh, man is this, or a woman is this, and I feel like I can be what I want. Okay, that's cool. That's your fucking opinion. That's your opinion. That doesn't mean I have to agree with your opinion. And I'm not, and people are afraid to speak out. We need to stop this stuff. Stop the fear. Stop it. Speak your mind. You're going to piss some people off. Maybe.
Piss them off. Like, fuck it. If they get pissed off for you being you, they don't need to be in your life. I would rather walk alone by myself, but be my true self, than to have fake friends, fake people, fake family, fake people around me. It's all a fucking illusion. It's all an illusion. I don't mean to swear as much, but it's all an illusion.
It is.
All of it is an illusion. And in a spiritual awakening, no matter who you are, veils are going to be lifted. And it is time for us to have our authentic self and for us to voice our opinion 1,000%.
Dude, people swearing. You just see what you just did there?
I know.
As an example, Jason just showed you an example right there. He spoke what came from him freely, and swearing is just an adjective, by the way. Just describes what you're talking about, a noun, a verb, whatever it is. You just throw an extra little colorful adjective in there. That's all it is. So that Jason pulled his statement back right then. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry about swearing so much. Okay, that's what came out. That's what came out. You see what that was? That was an energetic pullback. He just literally took his energy and held it back by doing that. That was a perfect example of what we're talking about with speaking your mind, even if it pisses people off. Okay. And it's not like any of you haven't heard fucks and shits and dams and asses and whatever, because I know a lot of you drop them F-bombs. I've heard the worst swearers a lot of times have been females that I've been around. I was like, holy crap, I wasn't expecting that. That's a mechanic voice right there.
True story.
I love it. I love when these women are fired up like that. My wife will tell you too, fuck off. I don't care. And that's what I dig about her. Sometimes we butt heads, but I appreciate her honesty because she'll tell you, even if I always tell her, I'm like, wow, you're so blunt sometimes, like with other people around me. I'm like, sometimes I am almost like, that's my energy pulling back because I'm always like, she speaks her mind, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how that's going to come across the other person, other male or man or woman. I was like, holy shit. So yeah, don't say bad words. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Good times. It's not a bad word. It's only a bad word if you say it's a bad word. We were saying it was fun. I enjoy it. So yeah, man, it's just the fact of that was a good example. I mean, literally, it's pulling your energy, and we hold our energies back. We hold our energies back. That's what that was an example, a prime example of. Okay. And if that word bothers you, or these words bother you, that's okay. There's a reason why they bother you. There's a trigger in your somewhere that bothers you.
Yeah.
And it's not about it's your inner insecurities, your things that you don't want to hear. Okay, but you know what? You have to be not triggered by some things. That's why this whole thing needs to be out. We forgot how to speak to each other. Even if it's harsh sometimes. We forgot, literally, go into a room. First thing you're going to look around is, okay, you're going to try to maybe I'll go over here. Maybe you start looking to where you feel you would fit in instead of just picking the spot where you want to go.
Yeah.
That's our energy already programmed. We're programmed so bad that we are afraid to talk to others in a restaurant. If you're sitting we're at a hibachi table the other day, and it was amazing. And this gentleman and this woman were sitting there with us, and they introduced themselves. And he actually made a mention. He goes, a lot of people are afraid to introduce themselves to the people around us. If they don't know, I feel like we don't do enough of this. I'm like, exactly. And that resonated with me. Crazy thing is, we start talking, and now because of the stuff that they were talking about, they were brought into my energetic field. I have a reading. I wasn't even offering that service. It literally came out where she's going to have a reading with me. I'm making some pain balm for her son, who was a Army vet who got blown up and in combat. So I'm helping them with this. So it's crazy how the universe is bringing others into alignment. And that's what this whole thing was. And he started the conversation in the first place by saying who they were, and we introduced ourselves back, and he made that point, and it was literally like, wow, you're totally 1000% right. We don't put ourselves out there because we're so stuck in our phone and our lives and what we're focused on. That's what this thing is. We need to spread our energy, our light, even by speaking. Our speaking has powerful vibrational characters. That's the reason why it's good to speak what you feel. And by you second guessing yourself, you're holding your own energy back. That's what we've been doing. We have blockages because of that. We block ourselves a lot of times because of things that we push down and keep down in fears and doubts.
Stop
Let it go.
I know. I agree. I'm going to say what's on my mind. I don't care. And someone was saying, like, you better listen to your mom. And if I listened to my mom about everything, I wouldn't have my little star seed, because she would want me to be a 60-year-old virgin if I listened to everything my mom said. So let's keep it real here, Madre. No, 1000%. Okay, I'll cut it down a little bit, but I am going to swear. Let's look at Ursula. Ursula, come on. Let's get a break here. People with class don't curse. Well, I think Trump has a lot of class, and he curses quite often. So
yeah.
Let's call it spade a spade, 1000%. Brother, I think we need to go to Vegas and place some bets onto Trump's new basketball team. Let's listen to Trump's new basketball team and who he would want to have on this team. It's absolutely epic.
If I was a basketball coach, I'd be the greatest coach in history. I'd have a women's team. I'd have all men. I'm not a fan of LeBron James. I don't like LeBron. But I'd say, hey, LeBron, you ever think of becoming a woman? Because you're going to be on my team. We're going to go undefeated for the next 5 years, LeBron. I'm not a fan, but, I would ask him that question. One thing, if I was a basketball.
Brother, we need to, we're going to go to Vegas, and whatever team that Trump is going to go ahead and construct, we are going to be betting big on Trump's team, especially with LeBron James playing in the WNBA, 1000%. Yeah,
LeBron James is the chomo.
Yeah,
so
he is one
he
of the
even has a tattoo that's called the Chosen One. So there's a reason why these sports figures are so big, and they put it out there. So the ones that are out in front, really out in the front, those are the major ones. And it's insane. Like even for us, these comes back to the circuses, you know, these bread and circuses. These are predetermined outcomes before the season starts. They get a script, and the injuries are already, you're going to have a torn ACL this year. You're going to have a torn ankle this year. You're going to break this. You're going to go out. That stuff is predetermined in advance. So they know exactly what they're doing. And a lot of that shit, believe it or not, is green screened in the professional sports. We don't believe it, but that's how good the technology is nowadays. They use a lot of green screens for the sports.
Yeah.
Even if you don't think that they're right, oh, they look so real. Yeah. The shit that they do, they can hologram and project that thing. Why do you think they go back into the locker room and then they come back out of the locker rooms? Yeah, exactly. They might have real people there signing autographs, but their likeness, the face is what they want. But everything is predetermined. There's green screen. If you don't believe me, go look. They green screen everything. Everything is very scripted. And it's also to divide. You send all these because we're distracted. There's trafficking children under these stadiums, at the stadiums, all this stuff. But they're also dividing you because that's war, right? My team versus your team. You win, I lose. Yeah. That's how this whole situation, you pay me. They're paying money to sit there and be entertained by something that is irrelevant when you look at the scheme of things in this world. That's what this whole situation is, man. It's literally, it's programmed on such a deep level that what we think is real isn't real. I mean, literally, like, wow, look at all these battles going on. I mean, like me, I coached the youth ball because it was pure. I was able to mentor. I got to the high school level. I didn't, and the high school level and some of these competitive programs is very, very, very scripted. And that's why they keep having success at these programs or private programs. That's what they're private for, because they recruit them. There's reasons why that these big programs are the way they are. Then they go to the high school or the college level. That's why these same colleges are still power players, because they have cabal control. And it's not about the money. They want the likeness of the face, so they can put a face with the money that they can say, hey, look, they're really doing something. And it's really not the case. And they sell their souls to the devil. The ambulances that come when they take all these players off the field, they're fake ambulances. This shit is staged. It's satanic rituals. We partake so much in satanic rituals, man. It's sickening. We don't even know we're doing it. We don't even know we're doing it. And we partake in these satanic rituals on a daily. So, no, L, I haven't pulled cards on Russell J. Gould. Something about him, though, I've never resonated with him from the moment I saw him. And I've watched a few of his videos, and I couldn't even finish listening to him. Like, there was something about it that says nope. And I don't feel like, I don't know. I can look, but I have some questions I have to get to in a little while too before our show is done. But when it comes down to it, though, man, all these, you can't trust anything. You can't trust any. That's why it says do your own research. Question Q, right? Question everything. And if you notice, a lot of these truths are the same thing. They came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they had huge followings, and they were all over, blasted all over the place. And other truthers are blasting their channels, and then they were having the same groups come on their channels, and they just rotate each other. If you didn't notice that pattern, it's a very big pattern, and there's a reason for it. Because birds of a feather flock together. And a lot of these truthers, and I hate to say this, which is separate than what we're talking about, a lot of these truthers are preying on people. They're preying because a lot of us, including myself, were looking for answers. Mm-hmm. We were searching. We knew something was wrong. 2020 was a big catalyst because we knew that there's no way that this mega star with all these thousands and thousands of stadiums sold, people in all these rallies, there's no way that this man lost. No way. Never seen anything like it. And then we saw there was like, okay, something is wrong here now. We know that this shouldn't have worked out the way they did, especially with the candidate that they chose. Of all the candidates they could have chosen, Michelle Obama would have probably been a little more believable at that point, right when Barack was done, if she was going to run, than it is now. but they didn't. So they put Hillary out there, keep putting that fucking mummy out here all the time, recirculating, or her likeness. But it's the fact that everything is just so twisted, man. I mean, it's I can't even begin to fathom. We all search for answers, and they prey on these beautiful souls who are looking for some type of reassurance, some type of answers, maybe that they can't speak to others at home about because they don't resonate, or they don't agree, or there's some type of disconnect, or they can't share some of these things, what they feel inside, because it sounds crazy, because it's resonating in your soul, or you're getting messages from God, and it's like things are coming to you that don't make sense. So these truthers see that, and then they start to capitalize on it, and capitalize on it, and capitalize on it, and create private groups. And I can only give you this information. I'm going to give it to my private groups. Join my private group. I'm going to do pay-per-views for this one. And the fact is that they're just praying, and not praying. Who else does that?
Yeah.
Comes with a smile and a handshake and tells you everything is going to be okay. I have all the answers. The devil. So some of these truthers are no different than some of the dark, because that's their focus, is 100% making money and making as much profit as they can make on things, instead of putting the information out.
Yeah, so. And there's another flip side to that. It goes deeper. When a certain community has so much power, it's no different than the conglomerates of like Amazon or anywhere else, because now you're going straight to the conglomerates at the top, right? The ones who have the control or the power, or let's call it its influence, the ones who are praying. And now if you piss them off, then you are now pushed down and pushed out and taken out. If you know what I mean, not taken out literally, but like off of your platform or your content where you are sharing your truth, if it doesn't agree with them. So that is another kind of rabbit hole, is if you give people too much power. If you give them too much power, it's going to go to their head. Like, we're human. We're all human. Like, I would be guilty of this too. If it is coming from a source of, if you're trying to get an income, if you're just trying to prey on people, make money, and not be about truth or the children or what it's supposed to be about, you give those certain individuals so much power. There's a reason why there's only about 10 of them, and that they circulate around and around on each other's platforms. It's because we are giving our power to others, where we have the power to do the research and the work on our own. We don't need anyone else to be telling us what's about to happen. Exactly. We don't need it. We don't need it. We are the next domino to fall. We have the power. We do. Not a card deck. No offense, Jason Ramirez or SOULdier of Light. A card deck, a pendulum, a warlock with a crystal ball, or anything like that. We have the power. It's within. It's not them. It's not the select few. It's us. We have
exactly.
Power. We have the power.
And hopefully after these shows, you feel empowered. You don't feel drained. And some of the information we put out is very heavy. And we understand that. Some people have said, oh, this is so negative. It's not negative. It's truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth is going to be so heavy on you. It's because you need to know this truth in order to release it, to understand it, to eventually overstand it. So this cannot happen again. So you're right, though, when it comes to what Lady D said about the Super Bowl is superb owl, which is Moloch. You're right. And actually that's why they call it football, like ball, superb owl. And the owl is a very majestic animal, and it's very, very beautiful, but they've twisted it. They've worshiped this thing as a deity, and it's so many things that they've twisted. Every professional, besides, like I mentioned before, baseball, which the baseball diamond is a Freemason compass. Basketball, it's all ball. The same thing with the shape of the earth. There's a ball, right? Because that's who controls the dominion of the earth, or had, or was, or did. So everything is ball. And what do you think they call it these? ball because they're doing satanic rituals every time they come together. You can use this, what was his name? Damar Hamlin or whatever his name is, or I think that's what it was, Damar
The
Hamlin.
one on the Bills that
Yeah,
died?
that was totally staged. 1000%. And I've been around football to the semi-professional level, and I've been around professionals as well. And there's no way the shit that they made it an example of what happened to him. Plus, you see that the only number that was standing up when everyone was taking a knee and the ambulance was coming was number 33, and a girl standing next to him was throwing up the little devil sign, the devil horns.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you see Trump, so some of you may not know, they throw their gang signs up. They throw these up. They throw the little 666 up. These are things, but there's intention. If one of us, we're thinking this is A-OK, that may be what you say is this A-OK. That's what your intention is. But to them, they throw these things up purposely for sixes. It's to throw the sixes. So everything comes back to the devil. To the devil. And that's what this situation is. We want to empower all of you. We want you to have that spark. We want you to have that spark. We want you to continue to grow. We want you to research these things. If you think we're crazy or we talk shit, okay, great. Go research it and come back to the table and tell us why we're wrong or why you feel we're wrong and share something that we may not know. That's how this is supposed to work. You're right, Starlight. 6 isn't evil. You're right. It's not. These are numbers that it's how their intention is behind them. So everything is intention, as we mentioned. What you put out in your energetic field is what you're going to receive. So if they put it out in dark, that's what you're going to get. Same thing with the tarot. I have to educate so many people on the tarot who are indoctrinated from the church. Oh, you're a tarot reader. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like, that's so dark. Or why I don't want anything to do with that. I'm like, and I always ask them, why do you feel that way? Well, it's dark. We've always been told there's, that was the first, we've always been told. I've always been told. I've always been told. And it's nothing to do with that. If your intention is to conjure something dark for your own personal greed, that's what's going to happen. You can use magic for the bad. You can use magic for the good. And magic is in all of us. Magic is just a word. We heal. We do magic every day by our manifestations. You don't need all that fancy boards, and you need crystals and you need smoke and all these crazy flames. If you want to conjure demons and things like that, it's very specific of how you do it. But I mean, if you want to just conjure a beautiful reality, calling in abundance, you have that energy inside of you because your God-given soul that he gave you with that ability to create. And why do you think the church has always said it's bad? Tarot is bad. Mystics are bad. They put in the Bible, mystics are bad. If you conjure the devil or you're going to conjure others and it's going to piss God off. But guess what? God is challenged. If you channel God, I ask God only. I ask for Yeshua and I ask for my higher self and I ask for the Holy Spirit. The trifecta. And then my higher self. So I call those energies in specifically, but if God didn't give me this ability to use it, why would he give it to me? If it was for evil, he gave you the ability, and it's your intention of if you want to use it for good or you want to use it for bad. And they didn't want mystics around outside of the church, even though the church has been using mystics for years since its inception. And that's they use all of our energies, astral projection, remote viewing. These are all things these are God-given abilities that we have. And they use these superpowers to keep it on the down low because they say it's evil. You're working with demons. You're working with lower energies. That's to put fear into you to not proceed with that. And that's why I asked before I even touched my tarot cards. I asked God for a sign. And I got it right away, like a smack in the face, that everything is going to be okay. As soon as I started touching them, they felt familiar to me. They felt like I knew what I was doing. I've done this before. And that's me remembering. That's what this is. These gifts that you guys all have inside of you, you have to remember them and unlock them. That's what this is. Don't be afraid of these things. Don't be afraid. We've all been told things that are incorrect for a reason. to hold you down, step on your neck, compartmentalize you, put you in that matrix. Your matrix is different than my matrix, and Jason's matrix is different than viewers in the matrix watching this. Every matrix is different, but we're all part of a collective. You got to break out of your own.
Yep. Absolutely agree. Brother, we've been going on for about 2 hours. We do have some super chats to get to. We have about 8 of them so far, but let's go ahead. I do want to address this Soul Therapy Lady. Yes, I do feel a lot more relaxed and a lot more free. And I know a lot of people have been saying that in the comments and in the chat. So yeah, my true self is coming out 1,000%. And it absolutely feels amazing. So let's go ahead and get to some of these super chats. And it feels like we're just getting started, but we've been on for 2 hours. I absolutely love where the conversation is going. Patriot, no, yes, girls said old school rules, 100%. This was back when we were talking about I think the children and like raising them old school ways, 1,000%. And then we have one from Tammy O'Neill. She says, just as a great super sticker. Thank you so much. Tammy, I see you in the chat almost on a daily basis. We love it. Thank you so much for watching. And
Yes.
then we have Soul. Soul says here, there's a super sticker, and thank you so much. And I see a lot of these of our viewers here that are on the Light Warrior Network. And thank you guys for jumping on. Please like, share, and subscribe to this hot content. And the Soldier of Light always drops hot content. I said, brother, I feel like after yesterday's show, you make me want to go live again. That's what I was telling to the Soldier. And he's like, I was going to go live today. He's like, do you want to come on? It's like, yes, I want to come on. Let's go ahead and do it on your channel. I'm glad we did. Absolutely. It's been a great conversation that we've had. But let's go ahead and answer this one. It's from David Wagner, the King of Swords himself. He says, please give us what to expect reading for the next 7 days. Everyone is so tired. We need something big to shake up the sleepers so we can move on. So what does the Soldier of Light, what do the cards, what does the Divine have for us this Monday evening? I'm salivating at the mouth, literally anticipating something major to happen within the next week. So Soldier of Light is going to go ahead and pull his cards, and we are eagerly waiting, and our eyes are glued onto the screen. Brother, can't wait to hear what you have to share with us.
Okay, I feel that there's something kind of come out with the finances, okay? Because I have the Ace of Cups first. So there's something that's done in the past, and there's something that's regarding the flow of money or something flowing is what I get. Because I have the Three of Pentacles, so it tells me this something has been worked on for some time, something been building on. So this narrative has been building, this situation has been building. I have the Wheel of Fortune, so a turning point is coming. It tells me the turning point just happened. Just recently, I feel just immediately it was a turning point in this situation. Even though they kicked the can down the road, it's inevitable. See how my light is all bright right now. See, as I mentioned, it goes darker. When I acknowledge it, it goes dark. But it tells me it was a turning point, a new direction. So it's something had to complete with the Wheel of Fortune, but it also tells me that this is moving in a new direction for the better. It's a turning point for the good. And I have the Hanged Man, so it tells me that things are going to be kind of on a stalemate for like after this change. So what happened here, it tells me they prolonged it. So that's what that Hanged Man tells me. That it tells me that whatever they pushed it off is inevitable. They just pushed it off a little bit further to delay the inevitable, because the Seven of Wands next is telling me they're very defensive. So whatever the situation is something they're trying to defend themselves. They're trying to keep this situation afloat. And I have the Eight of Cups, so it tells me departing. So it tells me something is we're going to be transitioning here. I would say maybe within the next, I have the Six of Pentacles, so it's something to do with the finances. So, but I feel within the next 6 months, I know he's asking for 7 days, but I feel like the next 6 months, we're going to see a lot of things financially start to go away. They're going to depart from something financially. So it tells me maybe BRICS comes into play. September 1st is coming, tells me that Texas is going to take over their own currency like it used to be in the Constitution originally, where the states would be able to mint their own money. So I feel like when you ask in the next 7 days, it tells me things aren't going to really happen in the next 7, but we may still see some of this narrative coming out about the financial system. And it's preparing people to depart from that. We're looking to leave this is what I'm getting. And I have the justice card. So justice is coming. Justice is already here in the future. So it tells me whatever the situation, there's going to be some departing. Okay. And it tells me the Six of Pentacles, exchanging of something. So it tells me in its finances, very much so. And this system that's coming is going to be very balancing. It's going to be equal. It's going to be very generous is what I'm getting. And I have the justice card. It's meant to happen. So these are cause and effect. So we're seeing all this destruction purposely in the past because a group of them, there's a group, and I have Three of Pentacles. So there's three major parties really moving this along. And I feel off the top of my, just what I'm getting intuitively, China, Russia, and Mr. T are the Three of the Pentacles that are really working to move this process along for the finances. And I have the World card holding on my whole reading. So it tells me this is something that's affecting the world, that we're seeing this play out. So the Hanged Man tells me we're going to see things. This is an awakening part of it for the people in the financial region, awakening for the sleeper. So that I feel we're going to see some things still, even though they voted on it. I don't think it went to Biden's desk. So I feel like there's going to be a delay maybe with him signing that off is what I'm kind of feeling. I haven't read anything. I haven't been in the news, but I don't know if he signed that. I know it was supposed to go to his desk today. And I feel like this is something that's along to do with that. I feel like this is a narrative, and this is affecting the world. And this is accomplishment that's coming. It tells me fulfillment, success for the world. So this is what this is, a moving something in a new direction and completing a karmic cycle. Breaking cycles I just got right now. We're breaking cycles. This is what we're here to do, and that's what they're doing. This is the biggest thing with control is this financial system. So I feel we are going to see some news in the community, but it won't be what we're expecting, like a big major boom. So what I tell you, David, I know you're tired. I've heard you talk. I know you're getting exhausted, man. Retract, pull back. If you're feeling exhausted, all of you, not just David, if you're feeling exhausted, pull back from this community for a little bit. Try to recenter yourself. Stay away from all the drama. Put your computers down, put your phones down for a couple of days. Detox yourself from that stuff. And I feel you're going to feel re-energized and ready to hit it. So I feel like that's what a lot of us are doing. We're watching, we're focusing too much on the what ifs. Things aren't happening. That's, and I know it's been a long time. There is a plan, and there is something to do with finances that I feel that's been done. And this has been done with the Ace of Cups in the past out of love. This is divine and intervention. Something's going to be proposed to us. So, yeah.
Can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely epic when it does happen. I think a lot of people are going to shit their pants when it comes, because it's not going to be a soft crash. It's going to be a hard crash with a uprising that's going to be great for all humanity. That's just my opinion.
Yes. Once again, that comes back to each one of our precipices is different. I might not be focused on the finances because I may say I don't have shit anyway. So I'm not focused on that. So there's something that will come along in your journey that will be your precipice, that will tell you, I'm done with this. I'm done. When I have had enough, I'm done. That's why I'm telling you, it's good to kind of step away from this stuff. Take a break. Detox. It's a detox. It's an electronic detox because your energy is affected by these electronics 1000%.
Yeah.
The energy that comes through and the energy you give it.
Yeah. All right. Excellent cards, brother. I do want to address the one comment from yesterday. How about the person that says, oh, why don't you pull cards, you monkey? Like, bro, you are such a gem and so much of a wealth of knowledge and entertaining, and people absolutely love you and your information. And you are much more than just a tarot card puller, if you know what I mean.
I'm a soldier of light, whatever that looks like for me. And it may be, and you're right. Somebody said up there, I think Jason could read energies. I can. A lot of times, if I'm connected, if I can connect with your energy that well, some people are afraid to open up their energy for me but I can usually pick out things for them by just looking at them and knowing right away what's going on. I just use my cards as more of a way to kind of direct the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of guides, even my own guides, and things don't make sense sometimes. So it helps me kind of focus that energy. But I can read energies for sure. I did it a few times around the table. It looked like the Last Supper in Texas. There were so many of us at a table. It was beautiful. And we were all sharing, bouncing a lot of things off of each other. And someone said, what do you think about me? And I started reading the energy, and you're like, what? Like, what? Like, didn't even know how to respond. Like, what? Huh? Like, how do you know these things? And it's not like generic stuff. It's literally like, I can pick out if you've had trauma in your childhood, if there's something you got going on that's holding you back. There's things that I know, I can feel it. I told Jason the moment I met him, I said, you got a lot of trauma, and man, there's a lot of things that you've been working through in your whole life that I feel you need to let go of. And that's what it's been doing. So this has been a work in progress for all of us. So it's a work in progress, even for all of us who feel we're alive and we're awake and we're just knowing it. We have to work on ourselves every day.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. You're right, brother. Here's a question from Tiffany. Are dogmen a naturally evolved species, or were they tampered with in labs and then released?
Dogmen, huh?
Yeah. And guys, we're going to have our next show. It's going to be tomorrow. Soldier of Light and myself at 5:15 Pacific Standard Time. And then before that, the prelude is going to be with me and Bree Divine. We're going to be talking about twin flames, spiritual awakening, and having a series of that. So tomorrow's episode 1, and that's going to be at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Me and Divine Bree, and the thumbnails are up on both of them. So, Soldier of Light, what'd you get?
I got the 9 of Swords, first of all. So that's a no card for me. It tells me they weren't naturally evolved. So it tells me this is tampered with, because I have the 6 of Wands. So it's there's a transition. This is their way of, the dark's way of progressing. This is what they're doing. And actually that they feel confident about, like I get right now that they're trying to be victorious over God by doing what they're doing. And then I had the 4 of Cups. So they've disconnected the energy, or the DNA has been disconnected. So it tells me the disconnection from the men, and I don't know if it's literally a dog man or whatever. I don't even know what that even means, but it tells me that there's been separation from this, of what they originally were. And I have that Page of Cups. Tells me it was a creative way that they're doing this, the dark, a creative way that they come about this with the Page of Cups. Something was proposed to them. So I don't know if it was a lower frequency energy that they conjured, or something along that line. I feel something was proposed to them. This is what you do. This is how you do it. An old energy. I feel very old energy, because I have the Emperor card after that. So it tells me it was some type of authority, some type of authoritative. And I feel maybe it was a royalty. This started with royalty. So it tells me that the royalty, some royal king I keep getting, is the one who's responsible for this. And a queen. I have the Queen of Pentacles next. It was for money. They're putting it into practice. So this has been practiced for some time. I feel like black magic is involved. I don't know what the situation is. There's something nefarious involved with this situation that's involving this. Because I have the 3 of Wands holding up my reading. So it tells me it's been planned and they've made progress from it. It tells me, and it was for a financial expansion. So whatever the situation, it was all tied back to money. And it was planned, and it was to expand their reach, expand their darkness, is what I get. I feel like this originally they weren't, because I have that there was trauma in the past with this. I have the 9 of Swords, which is trauma, fear, all that stuff. There's something along that tells me there's energy was disconnected at that time. So hope that resonated with you, Tiffany, and thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, thank you so much for that super chat, Tiffany. I do want to, before we get to our other super chats, I don't know, how long do you want to keep on going, brother? We've been on for about 2 hours and 10 minutes, and we have 4 more super chats.
Yep, let's roll it. Whatever, man.
We're good?
I've done 4-hour shows, man, so I'm good.
All right, I'm good too. I just might have to use the restroom, and yes, I will be standing up because I have an Audi and I'm a divine masculine, 1000%.
Good times.
Let me play this clip talking about these half breeds, or what the Dark Deep Cult is trying to do. Again, this is on the Joe Rogan show. Let me go ahead and pull this up.
Did something called the robo rat. That was the first biohybrid. So a biohybrid is when you mix animal and a machine. And people freaked out. They were like, you cannot put brain chips in rats and make them move through a maze by a remote control, which is what they were doing. They now have pigeons that are mixed animal and machine.
What?
They created something called, there's a moth. So there's a Mandica sexta moth. That's what it's called. It's a large moth. And scientists put brain chips into the larva so that when it cocooned and became a flying moth, it had the chip built into its system, making it easier to integrate, and they could fly the moth around the lab. And that was a huge step. And this is now 4 years ago that I was interviewing. Created.
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up, brother.
Wow. So I've seen Bigfoot, for all of you guys who've known, on Fort Lewis back in 2000. I saw it. And it was, I didn't feel fearful of it. I just was like, what the heck was that? So they've done so many experimental things, and the things that you see are, people are afraid. All the things that you see, and there's some that may have, there are werewolves out there. There are vampires out there. This shit is not made up stuff. That really exists. They've made these types of hybrid things, purposely, and they try to keep them hidden. They use them for their purposes. I mean, literally, it was crazy. I mean, the stuff that I've been searching, and the fact that you had a video pulled up about this stuff, and we talked about that earlier about the tunnels. They're doing this stuff in the tunnels. All these labs, these biolabs, and all these, they're not just using the biolabs for that. It's the shit underneath the biolab that they're doing all these crazy experiments on the population of the local population to see what works, what doesn't, how you can poison them faster. I mean, that's literally what they do. We are guinea pigs for the dark to manipulate and kill. I mean, literally, it's what they're doing. So I didn't feel Bigfoot was evil. No, by any means. I wasn't afraid. Like I said, it was just like, what was that? It was huge. It was at least 9 foot tall. It was as tall as my army ambulance. And it was fast, and it was on 2 legs, and it was very hairy. So I guess I'm a unicorn because I've seen a bunch of UFOs too, and I've seen Bigfoot. And I know it was Bigfoot because I've had readers pull cards for me. So
yeah. No, I've had the experiences with extraterrestrials as well. I haven't seen Bigfoot, but extraterrestrials, yes. Funny that TJ is saying, I wonder if Brandon is like that, having a chip in him and the wizard is controlling him. I do have footage of this, and it is the military. So we have 4 more questions. So it's kind of blurry, but I think we can make it out. Okay. And it's pretty epic. And okay, let me go ahead and play it. Let me get the volume. Okay. And it's a military bringing a body. It looks like a robot or a clone. And I don't know if you guys could see this here on the right. This right here looks like a Biden robot. I'm going to try and share the link into the chat once I play this.
Whoa, wait a minute. Look at this on the screen. We got to take this back for you to see what just happened here. The military has some dummy mannequin robot probably, but why does it look like Joe Biden?
It looks like, to me, it looks like Biden. I'm going to share the link to this Instagram video in the chat. I know it's blurry, but it's a military. It's an operation. I wouldn't be surprised if it is Brandon himself as a robot.
A little. Look at it. It looks like Biden when he gets closer. Whoa, wait a minute. Look at this on the screen. We got to take this back for you to see what just happened here. The military has some dummy mannequin robot probably, but why does it look like Joe Biden a little? Look at it. It looks like Biden when he gets closer.
It looks like on the head, it looks like it's like a gunshot wound to the head. So is that possibly Brandon getting, and then them trying to bring this dummy out? I don't know. Let me go ahead and share that into the chat. What are your thoughts, brother?
I mean, there's so much thing with that. Like I mentioned, the green screen Everything is green screened. Everything is clones, CGI, everything. They've been doing these robotics that look like real humans for at least since the 50s. And they're just able to do them quicker now. And that's why they're pushing this agenda. If you notice, even on Twitter, right? They're pushing this like the brain implant, the chip. Supposedly it's going to go through FDA clearing. Well, the fact that it goes through anything with the FDA, and that's also, remember, like I said, anagram for FDA is a fad. So it tells me that this is what they want to push through. They want this to be normal so that they can push this stuff back out into the open. That this stuff has been going on for some time, but we get used to the fact of having, robots around. They showed on that movie Elysium, for instance. They showed med beds. They showed the flying cars, anti-gravity. They also showed the police force, which is robots at that time. The parole officers and the probation officers were robots. They weren't humans. You couldn't speak to a human back then or then. So it's all the process to get you to feel like, okay, to stand under them and say, this is the future. The AI future is what we're going. And that's the furthest from where we need to go is the AI future. We need to keep the AI. It could be used for good, but we need to keep it in check, because unchecked AI, as even Elon Musk says, we summon the demon with AI.
Yeah.
Because there's no human component in that at that point. And actually the AI, it gets smart enough because the energy that's put out from the humans, the AI gets the energy from it, and it's the energy can interact with the computer. That's why I'm telling you, it sounds crazy. The Ghost in the Machine. That's another movie from back in the day. Transcendence. If you've seen that with Johnny Depp, where he becomes part of a computer and he lives forever. They're just programming you to understand for them. They want you to stand under that. They want you to be associated with that. So yeah, I feel with that, it's absolutely, that stuff's been going on for a long time. The purpose of why they would show that video, maybe, it's to probably wake some people up, to make you go down a rabbit hole. And I feel like that's why some of these things, these are crumbs. That was a crumb. And then it was up to that Anon, who was say, what the heck, whoa, to go down that rabbit hole and then expand that knowledge of others and get that message out, because you just pulled it up here. It's to get that message out, to understand for us and overstand that that's where we're going. That's where they're looking to try to and go that way. This is all in your face, man. All this stuff straight up is in your face, and it's for a reason.
Yep, absolutely agree, 1000%. Here's a question. Here's a question from DHP Jr. Changing small things such as colors and words on posters, graffiti designs, or other minor things is fun and great practice, but is it wrong considering some sleepers might notice the difference?
Ah, okay. Yeah, DHP always brings crazy questions, man.
I've heard.
I dig it.
We love it, DH. We love it.
Yep. Makes sense. Okay, so the King of Swords is a first. So there's a leader. Somebody's in charge of this, whoever the situation, and swords are thoughts and words. So you're asking about putting these things out, these words, changing the colors, the information that's being put out. That's what I'll correlate it to. The high priestess is next. So what it tells me is because people don't trust themselves. They change things that they know there's the patterns. That's noticing patterns. I feel like many of you are starting to notice these patterns. So what they're telling me is that it does. So is it wrong? Yes, because what it does is people don't trust their intuition with that high priestess card. Because I have the Empress card, so they do these things. It's a way of manipulation, is what I'm getting with the Empress card. Usually, the Empress card is a good thing, but there's money involved. It's their way of, as an authority figure, like an Empress would be, an authority figure. They put this information out to conflict. It's all create conflict, because sometimes we look at something and we're like, wow, did I just see what I saw? Or I thought that was different yesterday, or I thought I've seen this color. It's all to make yourself confused, because I have the Four of Wands. Tells me they celebrate that. The dark celebrate, and there's a community of them that celebrate the constantly keeping us in the dark, constantly keeping us conflicted. And I have that the Nine of Swords is holding up my reading and tells me it's to bring fear, it's to bring doubt, it brings anxieties. So it tells me it's to lower energy, exactly what that was meant to do. So yeah, it is wrong, but they're doing it purposely because they get a laugh out of it. It's something they enjoy doing. It really is. They get joy out of it.
Right. No, I agree. Mind control, it's programming. If you don't program your mind, it'll be programmed for you. So you have a choice to make. Either program it yourself or it'll be programmed for you. Ask again. Who's saying to ask again?
That's Monique. So DHP, I don't think you got my question, though.
All right. DH, if you want to clarify a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. But I agree with what Soldier of Light was saying. Here's another question from Tiffany. Tiffany says, I lost a child 30 years ago. My coworker is 30. We have an uncanny connection. He calls me mom. Is the soul of my child in this young man? The young man's name is Orlando.
I got the Justice card. So yes, I got the Ten of Wands. So that came to an end. Okay. So it tells me that this happened some time ago. And I have the Ten of Cups next. So it tells me it's family related. There's some type of family connection here. Harmony. Tells me this is divine. So I feel like divine intervention. So he does call you mom. There's some type of connection here. I feel very much so. There's family involvement. And the Eight of Wands, he traveled back. So yes, I feel like you're this young man, Orlando. I feel like is something that Orlando is there. I feel like he's traveled here. He's traveled with the Eight of Wands and the King of Wands. So yeah, he's done this as a focus. He focused. So it tells me like he came into an older male, or this is the older male you're talking about. And I feel like this King of Wands, you asked me if this was exactly what it is. I feel very strongly. And the Wheel of Fortune is holding up my reading. So it tells me this is a karmic thing. He has something he has to complete with you. So it tells me that there's a karmic connection here with you guys as well. And so it tells me it's a turning point. It also tells me this is inevitable. What your guys' meeting was inevitable and needed to happen. There's a purpose for it. I feel like it's to direct the energy. However that is, healing, something along that line. There's something along that line with the energy that's involved. It's to help. It's to help complete that cycle and move it into a new direction. So yes, I feel very strongly, Tiffany, that Orlando has been in your past and is in your future or in your present now.
Very interesting. Very beautiful. I love that message, Soldier of Light. Let's have another one from DHP Jr. He says, did the CIA build or try to build a secret laser beam powered by the human mind collective to shoot to the cosmos, and for what purpose? All right, so let's break it down. I'm sorry, I'm a little rusty. I haven't read tarot questions for a while, so let me kind of phrase it, but I think Soldier has it. Did the CIA build or try to build a secret laser beam powered by the human mind collective?
Yep. Six of Cups is a yes. They've done it in the past.
Interesting.
And the World card. So yes, the entire collective of the world. And they actually did complete it, by the way. It's been completed. And then I have the Ace of Cups. So the energy that flows from the world is what this is involving. And the Eight of Swords. So it tells me that this is, it's to imprison us. So this is what they're doing. So there's some type of energy that is kept us in that hive mentality, that collective energy held back. So they're using it for something different, but it actually it hurts us and imprisons us because our energy is focused into that, is what I get. And then I have the Ace of Wands. So there's a new beginning with this. So it tells me maybe this has been taken over at this point, and it tells me their new beginning. This is a desire that they had It tells me something's been accomplished with that Ace of Wands. And it tells me, and the military was involved because I have the Knight of Wands holding up my whole reading. So it tells me the military is involved. The galactic world, off-worlders, they've helped with this. There was a fight that happened. I feel there was a battle that happened. And the Temperance card came up next. So I'm not going to pull anymore. It tells me divine intervention happened. They've taken that over. So that was meant to imprison us by using our energies against us is what I'm getting. So it was like they were siphoning our energy from us, but it was for a nefarious purpose with this laser beam. So it was telling me to direct it to wherever because of how powerful we are. And it was using our energy for the bad is what I'm getting, DHP. So yes, very much so. The military did step in and the galactic helpers took it over. 1,000%.
I'm glad they did. Absolutely love that. That's a very intriguing question. I never thought of that. And epic card pulling answer from the Soldier of Light. Here is a question from the King of Cups. Shout out to Dennis. A long time no see, my friend. I think Jason's got this.
Some more realistic. Good question. I'm gonna actually, I think I'm gonna change decks right before I pull.
Okay, guys, we're gonna have our next show. It's gonna be tomorrow at 5:15 Pacific Standard Time with me and the Soldier of Light. That's gonna be on the Light Warrior Network channel. Thumbnail has already been created, but go ahead and write it down just in case they are not alerting you, which I know they are not. We are being shadow banned hardcore. Go ahead and write it down. 5:15 Pacific Standard Time. Me, Soldier of Light, Light Warrior Network. Brother, what do you got?
Yep. Okay. So I have the world card. So it tells me this is something that affects the world. Okay. And also tells me like this was completed. So they're telling me this was a completion, and they actually were. It was regarding enlightenment, something to do with enlightenment. So it tells me that the Eight of Fire or the Eight of Wands tells me that the information that you read is very, very accurate, and it's more divine in nature. And I feel like this information that's being put out, there's a purpose to it because I have the Balance card next. Okay, so the Balance card tells me like there's balance to it, just like the word says. It tells me that it's very balanced in the energies, and also tells me like this is something that was meant to be presented. And I feel like this maybe has been retracted in some sort because the Moon card tells me it's been held under something, or it's very enlightening as well. This tells me this book is very enlightening, but it also tells me that there's shadiness involved with this. Not saying that whoever wrote it or what it's about. It tells me whoever's been controlling it. It tells me it's been held under things, been cloaked. I have with the Moon card, and I have the Ace of Cups. So yes, there's a lot of information. It's divine in nature. It's love, and it's been proposed to us. And it tells me there's information that's there that will help awaken and help the energy flow is what I'm getting. Because I have the Eight of Swords or the Eight of Air holding up my reading. Imprisonment tells me the Bible has imprisoned us. The Bible has imprisoned our mind, imprisoned our spirit. We're victim mentality. Lack of mindset, that type of, I feel that's what the Bible has done, is to imprison us. So I feel that the Essence Gospel of Peace absolutely is more realistic spiritual book than the Bible, without a doubt.
Yeah, it's taught us to wait for a savior.
Exactly.
I mean, he is our savior. I am saying that for me personally, he is my savior, but it's waiting on someone else to do the work, is what I'm saying. And that's what they're teaching in the Bible and in the churches.
Yes, that's what it's all about. You are your savior through God. You make your choices. God's not going to come down here and make the choices for you. He gave you that ability on your own. You're a creator like he is. You're a creator of your own reality and the things that you want in your life. We just never been told that. We've been told that your reality is what we tell you it is, what we allow it to be. We're going to give you only so much money. We're going to give you this specific house, a specific car. That's what this is all about. It's what we're giving you and telling you. This is the enslavement mentality. And as I mentioned in my previous show, if you go back and watch the previous shows of Jason on the Light Warrior Network, I dropped this stuff about how this was manipulated from back in the day, and who became Abraham in the Bible, and so on and so forth, and how many different versions of the Bible there are, and each of the religions has their own Bible and their own things that they study. But guess what? If there's only one God, I promise you, and God's word doesn't change, no matter who it is, what it is, who it interprets it. So the fact that there's different versions of a Bible, that means it's that man, whoever presented this information, is their interpretation, what they feel it is, and it's to imprison and enslave you. These kings, these self-appointed kings and royalty that put themselves in and says, I'm over you, when they're not. They're self-appointed. Because if they weren't self-appointed, the world would know who they were. And I'm telling you that because they're self-appointed and they want to keep that power. So how do you keep power? Just like I mentioned, it comes back to herding you into the cities like cattle in your little pens, and then giving you what you need to read, what I want you to know. So the Project Mockingbird was way in effect before anything even. As soon as the word was written, Mockingbird started coming out. So that's what this is. Divide and conquer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm waking up to that for sure. I'm going to play another clip here. And it's from Tucker, and it's about people speaking their truth. And I think this was an amazing message from him. Let me go ahead and get this set up. Here we go.
The truth is as well. And the second you decide to tell the truth about something, you are filled with this, I don't want to get supernatural on you, but you are filled with this power from somewhere else. Try it. Tell the truth about something. You feel it every day. The more you tell the truth, the stronger you become. That's completely real. It's measurable in the way that you feel. And of course, the opposite is also true. The more you lie, the weaker and more terrified you become. We all know that feeling. You lie about something and all of a sudden you're a prisoner of that lie. You are diminished by it. You are weak and afraid. Drug and alcohol use is the same way. It makes you weak and afraid. But you look around and you see these people, and some of them really have paid a heavy price for telling the truth. And they are cast out of their groups, whatever those groups are, but they do it anyway.
Yeah. Guilty of being casted out, 1000%. But it feels good. It feels good to speak truth and to be in your power. And that's exactly what the Light Warrior Network does. This is what the Soldier of Light does. And we are continuing, and we will continue to move forward and speak our truth and shine our light and expose the dark, no matter who it is or what it is, and speaking our truth, because it's just going to give us more power, and hopefully it empowers the collective as well. I believe it will. I believe it does. Soldier of Light, what are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Speak your truth. We came back. That's how we started the show. Speak your truth. Even if you piss people off, whatever this is, that's their trigger. That's what I want people to realize.
Yes.
You say something or do something, and that may piss them off or it may not. You may get a smile from one, and you may get a middle finger from the other person.
Right.
It's how they react based on the triggers that they've had, some type of history, something that's inside of them, some type of insecurity, something that's bothering them. Could be from a previous lifetime, could be something along that line that it comes down to. It's a trigger for them. So their reaction is their reaction. It's not your responsibility how they react. You shouldn't really care at that point how they react to, because that's their reaction. You can't change how they feel. You can't change how they react, because they're always going to react the way they're going to. What you can control is you and what you put out. And that comes back to not holding your energy back. We do too much of this. This is the biggest lesson Spirit has been pounding in my head. Literally, is we hold our energy back way too much. We are superpower. We're superheroes. We're super. That's literally what God keeps telling me. You guys are beautiful. You're amazing. I made you amazing in my own image. And we hold it back because we give power away all the time. We give power away just by holding our thoughts back. Yeah. We give power away just by not speaking what we really feel. We give power away that way. It really is, like, if you look at it from that perspective, even from a logical perspective, We've been told what we're supposed to say. We've been told what's right and wrong. We've been told what you should do, what you shouldn't do. These are all manipulations, and it comes back to you. If it doesn't vibrate with you, man, just let it fly.
Yeah.
Tell someone to, kiss my ass, whatever you want to say. I mean, that's literally what it is. If that's what you feel, and most people will get over it. But honestly, even if they're pissed at you, they will go back after they've left, and that will be in their mind, circling in something, either because they're trying to talk to somebody else about their experience. That's what this is. It's literally I want to talk to some misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to go to someone and want their reaction, and their reaction makes them feel better because somebody is reassuring them that everything is okay. You see how this pattern develops? You are afraid from the beginning, and then somebody has to reassure you that everything is good.
Yep.
And who's left out of this whole equation this whole time? You. And it sounds selfish, but it's not. It's not selfish, because you have to look inside first. And no, don't give a shit what people say. Too many. And that's what this situation really boils down to, is be your authentic self all the time, like God created you to be. You have to be fearless, and that looks like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Fearless means speaking your truth. That means if God says, you know what, stop paying the IRS, stop paying the bills, like what I was doing. Now I'm going to have to fight a different fight, but it's what God has directed me to do. He's going to put things in front of you he knows you're going to be able to accomplish, because you've already agreed to these things before you came here. Your whole path has been almost written, or at least the path has been laid out for you, and how you get to the end point is up to you. God says you're eventually going to come back to me, but you may take a U-turn and make a lot of different things. You may descend, you may go down, whatever this is, you're going to have a path that's already laid out, which is back to God. And how you get there is up to you. God has given you that free will, and it all stands with you looking inside, working on you, being a better version of you, and letting go of your triggers. I still have to let go of my triggers every day.
Yep.
The ones that used to bother me, though, don't bother me like they used to. Not even close. It's night and day difference. That's what this is coming back to, speaking your truth. And honestly, what Tucker said, when you say your truth, it does feel good. Even if you're like, oh man, then you sit there because you feel good about releasing this stuff. You're holding the energy back. You're dampening your own spirit. And that's the worst thing God wants you to do, is dampen your own spirit. Everything around us is doing it for us. He doesn't want you to do it as well.
Wow. I love it, brother. I couldn't agree more. I want to play another clip. If we haven't offended the liberals yet, this clip will. These next two clips will. Yeah, let me play this one. I want to play this one first. This one's speaking about what's going on in Hollywood.
In that world, in the world that I come from in Hollywood, that it is a hidden layer that everybody knows is there. When the Me Too movement started in 2017, I reached out to several of my female actress friends who were prominent in LA. You would know them by name. Many of them you would know by just their look, because you go, oh, that was her in that movie or that movie. And I said, well, what about the children? What about the children? And the response was, we know. But they were silent on it. And it destroyed me, because it destroyed my illusion of what human rights were, children's rights were. This is a child abuse system that we have been living in for a very long time, and it's been allowed to go on. And I will not be silent about this, because it affects every single one of us. The people on television who smile at you, who tell you stories, who give you news, are the ones who hide all of this from us. They are not talking about the real issues. They are distracting you with division issues. This is a unification issue. When the Maxwell files came out 48 hours ago, I went on MSNBC, I went on CNN.com, and I looked at every single one of their headlines, and there was no mention of it whatsoever. They were talking about John Lewis's funeral. They were talking about in that world, and the world that I come from in Hollywood.
There it is. That's what happens. That's the other flip side to us not speaking our truth. And the flip side is the dark wins. The dark wins when we do not speak our truth. When good people, when light warriors, when the souls of the light, soldiers of light, do not speak their truth, that's exactly what happens. Darkness shadows the light. What you got, brother?
When is it enough? That's the message that came in for me to say for everyone. When is it enough? Like, where do we draw the line?
Right.
When is it enough? We draw a line, and guess what? They just wipe right over it with their foot, and that line no longer exists. So we draw another line. When is it enough? So God's saying, you guys are holding yourselves back. You have all the power. All the power. When is it enough? What is your precipice? And I'm talking to everyone in this video, on this chat, listening to this video maybe at a different time. When is it enough? Do we have to literally see mangled children brought out and shown in front of us for it to be enough? I know that this stuff is all hearsay, is what you could say from a theoretical perspective. But there's way too many things out there that lead the opposite of that. When is it enough? All of us are waiting for this. The hope, the hope, the hope. When is this going to come to an end? When is this going to come to an end? When is this going to come to an end? God said it'll change when you're ready for it to change. And each battle is different. Each battle is hard within yourself. But God, literally, the words that came into my head was, when is it enough? That's the biggest message I want you to take with you. And let that sink into your divine soul. Ask yourself tonight. Look in the mirror, whatever the situation is, and ask, what is my breaking point for me? Is it I have to lose all of my materialistic belongings? Is it my child has to get hurt? Is it whatever this looks like to you? You have to know what your dividing line is. And you can say it's been enough. I've had enough. But you say that, but your actions have to follow that. If that means stop supporting the cabal, if that means whatever it looks like it's going to be hard, you may lose some things, whatever. God wants you to be able to, He wants you to not have any attachments to materialistic things. You have to be open and willing to literally lose every single materialistic thing that you own. I told God that the other day. I literally said, I am ready. When it was regarding my home, I am ready. If it's your will for me to lose all of the materialistic things I have in my life, I'm okay with that. And I really said that from a genuine, peaceful place in my heart. If I ended up homeless in a truck or car or whatever, I don't care. It's not what it's about. But just letting God know that you're open for that. Because it means you're at your precipice. You have no attachment to things. You're ready to move forward with what you're here on this planet to do. And we all have a mission here. As I mentioned, your energy has to stay high. God is going to call on you in whatever form this looks like. He's going to call upon you. You are awakened early for a reason. He is going to call upon you. And when he does this, he's going to wait for you to complete your obligation that he's asked you to do, that you agreed to when you came here. So God's saying, when is it enough?
Oh, shit.
So look at yourself in the eye, in the mirror, and tell yourself, what is my breaking point? When is my breaking point? Starlight, I've lived out of my car for some time too in my day. So I've had some issues when I had some separation, all that. So I've had some rough experiences too. But I didn't let it beat me up. And I finally said, you know what? It's time for me to change. It's time for me to change what I'm doing, change whatever the situation. This is an awakening. It looks different than what you used to do. I guarantee you a lot of you are doing different things or thinking different things than you used to in your past. There's a reason why you've been led down this path, because God is calling you. God is calling you.
We were talking yesterday about who's controlling the system, and it's the banks. It's the central banks. It's all about money, power, control, fear. So people are asking, like, what can we do? Like, you don't have to go out and march in the streets. If you want to, you can. I think there's going to be a time where we're going to have to, but you could just pull your money out of the bank and just have enough in there just to make your mortgage payment. Or if you don't want to make your mortgage payment, or if you don't want to pay your bills, just keep on taking it out. Once they run out of that physical cash, they're already crashed. But I think it's now it's just time to take back our assets, literally, and just do a bank run. Entertainment purposes only, of course, but not really. I think that's where one thing that we can do, just go down to your ATM and withdraw cash, or go down to your bank.
Control what you can control. And that's you. So your choices you make are your control, no one else's. You can be swayed or whatever. That's because you allow them to sway you, persuade you, whatever. It's on you what you do with your actions. And like I mentioned, this journey is going to look different for every one of us. Jason's journey is going to look different than mine. And many of you in the chat are looking different than others, but we're all going to get to the same endpoint. Like I mentioned, back to God. And God is asking you to do your part. We can't have like that gentleman from earlier clip. He says, if we just all band together, stop going to work, stop buying the gas, stop doing this, everything would stop to exist, because we've said, this is it, man. We're done.
Yep.
We're done with this charade. We're done playing the devil's game. He's time to play us. It's time for him to play our game, which is God's game. He's done. That's what this whole situation is. Whatever it looks like for you, you're going to know it's time. I stopped paying the IRS 3 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago now. God told me this before I stopped paying my obligations. I finally was like, God said, just literally one day I was afraid. I was like, I'm going to stop paying them. And I kept doing it. And I kept wanting, because out of fear, I'm like, I don't want to have any trouble. And literally God kept telling me, he said, just stop paying them. Everything will be fine. I have your back. So I did. I haven't heard a single thing from them in 2.5 years. God told me recently, stop. And this was something I would never, when I had kids, my kids are all gone and out on their own. I would have never contemplated doing that as when I have small children. Stop paying your mortgage. Stop paying your car payment. Stop paying the things that the cabal literally is taking your money, and not just the money you give them. They're tripling and quadrupling the money, and then they're laundering it. And then it goes back to your children so they can hurt these beautiful children that are gifts from God. And it's all for a drug. It's all for power. Well, those in power who don't belong in power do everything nefariously to keep it. Even the things you think are innocent, there's some manipulation in there, I guarantee it. And it has been our entire existence. When they say that what's up is down, what's left is right on the cube boards, it's right. That's correct. We're going to find out our whole world is going to be flipped right upside down. Whatever shape the earth is, I'm just saying in general, things are going to be flipped upside down for people.
Yep.
God wants you to know that. God wants you to know that. You have the power. Starlight, how about when the tow truck comes to repossess your car? You don't have to give your car up. That's theft. That's theft.
Where is it?
That's theft. That's constructive fraud for theft. Because the moment you sign for that automobile, it's yours. It's paid for. So it's all constructive fraud. So what I would say, if you ever have a repo man try to come to your house, you tell them, hey man, you have no jurisdiction here. You are performing constructive fraud. This is constructive. Use that word constructive, which means it's been organized. They've planned this together. Even if it's a tow truck guy who doesn't have any clue, he's still partaking in the constructive fraud because he's thefting your property. That property belongs to you. That's what I'm talking about. They only get the power we give them. Same thing in the courts, all this stuff, all the power we give them. You have to give them the power. They have no jurisdiction over you unless you give that to them. So this all comes back to taking your power back. Taking your power back. Constructive fraud is the word to use. That's a powerful world. Not just fraud, because fraud they can get around that, because you can tell what type of fraud is. Is it mail fraud? Is it money laundering fraud? Is it whatever? There's so many different frauds that you can say. But if it's constructive fraud, that means there's parties working together to defraud you or to fraud you and to take it out, take your stuff, steal. That's what this is. So constructive fraud is a very powerful word to use.
Love it, brother. Dropping hot content again. And guys, like I said, we are going to be live again tomorrow at 5:15 Pacific Standard Time on the Light Warrior Network. We're going to have me and the Soldier of Light dropping even more hot content. We were going on for almost 3 hours yesterday, and now 3 hours tonight. So it's absolutely, I love it. It's beautiful. We could keep on going. We could stop. How is your energy, brother?
I'm good, man. It doesn't matter. I just want, I want to make sure that for all of you guys who want to know, if you guys want us to, we can go longer, we can cut it short. I also don't want you guys to get burnt out, because we throw a lot of information at you guys very quickly for a few hours. And hopefully you're taking some of this information and going to research some of these things. I would not present something to you as either with Jason at this point if we didn't research it, it didn't resonate with us. There wasn't discussion. There wasn't something that's put in place. We're not just randomly regurgitating things from others. So the things that we present to you, we don't talk about the shows. As we mentioned, this isn't a talk about, we don't say, well, let's talk about this. There's no agendas. This, and this need to be covered today. We don't do that.
No.
We always say, okay, what's the topic today? Let's talk about littles. Let's talk about whatever. That's literally when we get on, right before we go live. Let's go. This is, okay, so I understand, and he understands what we're doing, where we're starting the show off with. And it just flows from there. We don't have agendas.
Unscripted.
That tells me all unscripted. It's all divine in nature. So I don't want you guys to get burned out. Don't get burned. That's what I don't. That's like what David Wagner comes back to David Wagner's word tired, and how he even spelled the tired word. I talk to David on the phone. I talk to David Wagner all the time. We're good friends. And his energy has been drained a lot, because he's stuck in that 3D. He's stuck in because misery loves company. Misery will pull you in to this. You get pulled into the gossip wheel. You get pulled into these things. It's all to pull your energy. And it's not that they do it purposely at times. Some do, some don't. So just sometimes that's how the energy is. Sometimes you attract to energy because maybe there's some healing that needs to happen for them or for you. Maybe there's something that you need to get over at that point. That's a learning experience. Even for Dave, you need to take a step back and recharge your battery, because that comes back to what we talked about. When God calls you to do your job and what you come here to do, if your energy is so low and you're so defeated and you feel so crappy, you're not going to have the energy to fulfill your mission. So I want you guys to always look at that way. Decompress from your day, decompress from your electronics.
Yes.
You need to do this periodically, because if you don't, your energy just gets sapped, and then you get sick. Then you don't feel good. You have headaches. You get high blood pressure. You can't sleep because your energy, your mind starts to just go. I feel the energy sometimes from a lot of you, and your energy of your mind just constantly just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and it's almost like a nauseating at times when I feel it, because I feel the energies of some of your minds are just don't shut off. And I'm a thinker, but I've shut that down. Like last night, Spirit was coming to me so much when I went to sleep. I actually had to tell them, stop, please. I need you to stop for a little while. I need to rest. I need to get my sleep, because that's what I want you to. So sometimes maybe your thoughts aren't your thoughts. I know it sounds insane, but it's not. Maybe these are energies from your guides, from God, from angels, Too many of these things. So you're getting messages, and this may be relatives that are trying to talk to you. It could be other soul fragments that you may not even know that you're connecting with. And you may be hearing their thoughts. That's telepathy. That's a real thing.
It is.
So sometimes when you have all these conflicting energies, sometimes you just have to tell spirit, literally, let me take a breath for a few minutes. Let me kind of get some sleep. And they will listen to you. They'll pick it right back up where you left off the next day after they've let you rest. You have to put your intentions out all the time for everything, because spirit wants to help. Spirit wants to always jump in. Always wants to jump in. And they want to help you. But sometimes they're overwhelming, because when spirit comes in, there's the spirits all around that want to have their voice heard. They come in. So sometimes you have to quiet your mind. That's what I talk about. That even comes back to slowing your breathing down.
Yeah.
Because once you do that, even closing your eyes, I even told this to others who have a lot of issues, maybe with anxieties and things like that. No matter where you're at, even if it's in the middle of your day and working, close your eyes if you're feeling out of whack. Even if you just close your eyes for a minute, 30 seconds, close your eyes and breathe in slowly. And every breath out, you release all things that don't belong. You quiet your mind by just doing that. And you try, when you breathe, just try to focus on the breathing, not your mind and what you're thinking. I'm breathing in, slowing my breathing down. I'm breathing in the divine breath of life from God. Whatever you want to say. You don't have to say anything. Just try to let those, and you release those thoughts release them, because that's your energy is all over the place. And I feel like that's what this biggest message is for Dave and for a lot of you and for myself. You have to nurture yourself. We don't do that enough. Self-healing is a big part of this. Your ascension, your growth, everything. You get more if you step away from something for a little bit and come back to it. You'll have more clarity coming back to it after you've left it and you've decompressed from it than if you stay in it all the time. I hope that makes sense to a lot of you. Don't get burnt out on these things that you're seeing. It literally brings you into alignment with slowing your breathing down. Your spirit gets into alignment with your mind. You've been taught wrong. They always say body, mind, spirit. Totally wrong. It's spirit, mind, body. Because the frequency of the spirit is higher than your mind's frequency. Their mind frequency is higher than your body frequency. Everything is frequencies and energies. So slowing your breathing down, you align everything and you feel better. Even the Karate Kid says this. If you watch the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi says, he goes, what are you doing? You praying? He goes, breathing. It's the essence of life. Without breathing, there's no life. So he's telling you, and he was having his hands just like this as he was doing it. He was up to the divine, and it was out from his heart. If you notice how he was doing it, I know it sounds weird, how they're doing it, but there's a purpose to that. So he's telling you, bring that energy in from the divine and let it go from your heart. Release it and slow your breathing down. That is the biggest thing I feel. If you just you don't have to meditate. That's a meditation. That's a form of meditation. It's quieting the mind.
Yeah, for me, it is getting away from people. I'm reading the chat. It's kind of like getting away from people, not going out as much, being around all those energies, going out in nature like I did last weekend and again this weekend with the little starseed, going to the beach. And it's just like me and her, slowing life down. So like instead of like slowing your breathing down, like slowing your life down, slowing your work down, prioritizing and writing things down on what to prioritize. I know a lot of us are visual learners, and writing down your schedule and kind of looking where you're spending your time. You would be surprised how much time we are spent on the phone or on electronics, and they're good. They're used as tools, but don't let the tool use you. And just be mindful, be conscious of your actions. Like there was an assignment that we had to do in back in undergraduate school, and it was to track our behavior every 5 minutes and to like tally down like what were you doing like every 5 minutes. And it was the most tedious, it was like probably the most frustrating thing, but it was probably the most eye-opening exercise that I had ever done. And what it was telling me was I was spending too much time, of course, on the phone, but the amount of time and not taking care of like myself. We waste so much time. And it's like time is so precious. Like we don't get back that time. So that's what that's what I'm doing. I'm recommending I'm being more conscious of my time, spending time kind of away from others, like kind of figuring out where I'm putting my energy and prioritizing where I do that. And of course, like getting out in the sunlight. And if you don't have sunlight, I am privileged enough to have like the red light therapy and a sauna and exercising, lifting weights and doing that stuff really kind of excretes any kind of anxiety that's in my brain or my cognitive field. So, and there's studies on that as well. So those are just like little tips. And of course, nutrition, like I'm not the healthiest eater. I think my mom baked some chocolate chip cookies yesterday. And yeah, I had too many, but they're so good. So yeah, but be mindful of what we put into our bodies. But I'm doing a much better job on that. Anytime I go over to my mom's, it's not going to be good. Like I say, no, stop baking stuff. But yeah, being mindful of what we put into our bodies. So that's just what I would do.
It all boils down to your choices,
Yeah.
And honestly, but the things you can control. Okay, that's what I mean by that, because the choices that we have a lot of times, it's either the bad or the not so good choice. Like, okay, what am I going to make here? Because unless you are doing things on your own, growing your own food, knowing where everything is coming from, you're getting poisoned. So the choices you make all comes back to you. Choices. And as Jason said, he writes things down. That's good. He's trying to look at it from a different perspective and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this, or I'm going to do something a little different, prioritizing things, which is great. That's a goal-oriented. I was that way at one time, and my awakening is different now. Me, I hate going into public nowadays. And I'm not saying that it's bad. I don't mind being around people. I'm a very people person, or very people man, not a person. And I've always been able to talk and get along with others. But when I go into the outside world, my wife and I too, I'm ready to go home. And like if we go to the store, grocery store, something like that, I'm literally ready to go home after I'm done, like right away, because the energy I know is being sapped from me, from around me. And I feel like that's the situation. Like you become aware of this. And I honestly can't stand having a schedule now. That's why I took my website down. And that's a true story. I do readings for people like on an individual basis, if you email me and things like that, and we can work it out, because I was having problems doing international schedules with, different time zones. And it was stressful for me having to consistently, like I'm stuck in a hamster wheel, in a different hamster wheel, and I want to help. But I also had a lot of discrepancy with people's schedules and my schedule. And I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And I got to the point where like, I want to help, where I'll help the people that come, or the men and women that come into my life, the people that come into my life that need to have answers and they will come into my reality, and that will happen through God. And I still have readings that I still do for people, but that's also my ability. Mine's changed. So like, I can't stand to be back into that I feel like someone's holding me back by these schedules. I have to be in a certain place at a certain time and do this and do that. And I don't, that's the worst sapping thing for my energy now that I've been away from that. And I've been very blessed from God to be able to do that. But I also had a rough time getting to this point to be able to do this. It wasn't like it was just given to me. I worked for everything I've ever had in my life, hard. But I'm very proud of the things that I have, and not saying the materialistic things, the things that I've accomplished in my life. That's what I'm proud of, because I know where my journey started, and it was in this reality, it should be set up for failure, but it wasn't. I made choices that were different than my other family members. And I mentioned breaking cycles. I broke a cycle. And that's what this is all about, is breaking a cycle for yourself, for your family. These things that happen in families, they're patterns. abusive relationships, issues with mom, dads, and parent and children. These are things that are passed down. Even the bad things, what I'm seeing is passed down more than anything good anymore, because it's monkey see, monkey do. It's reality. It's what they feel is normal. And that normal isn't normal for how God put it to be. So that's why I'm saying is you have to change yourself. You have to. It's no other way around it. It's no other way around it. Once you change yourself and work on it, you'll start to see things from a different perspective. You won't want to go back to that old. And once you're out of a system, and you'll know when you're out of the system, it may feel scary at first, but then you're going to be like, wow, I could never go back to that, no matter how ugly it looks at the time. That's how I'm looking at it. So that I feel like that's Jason's I was in that where he's at. I was already there. Like many of you, we're in different stages of this awakening. And when you see that light, once it's there, like what Allison says, send that child into the light, let him run, that younger version of you. That's the one that's been held back, is that younger version of you have told what to think, what to say, what to do. You were held back. That's time to release that into the light. And that's what you do. That's working on you. And by them releasing, you release your energy. You don't hold it back.
Right. Man, I love just sitting at the bar with my brother here, the Soldier of Light, and we're just chatting. And this is nice. This is calm. It's relaxing. Everyone's enjoying it. I'm looking up the viewers. They're not going away, so they absolutely love it as well. We're going to be live again tomorrow, 5:15 Pacific Standard Time with me and the Soldier of Light. That's our next show. And then before that, Ocean Odell says, Jason, I'm so excited for the show with Bree Divine tomorrow. Yeah, so you guys are absolutely going to love having Bree on. She is a light warrior for sure. Fierce.
Awesome.
Absolutely fierce. I know that you guys are going to absolutely love her personality and love her story and her knowledge. And like I said, it's good to connect with people that have gone through similar situations. And it is her passion, her life mission to help others. And like I said, you guys are gonna like her beautiful soul and heart and passion for this subject matter. So I can't wait for that show tomorrow as well. It's going to be at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Me and Bree Divine are going to be dropping some hot content there. So looking forward to that one too. Ocean Eldell, 1000%, brother. Let's see. What do you want to add anything to that, brother?
No, I mean, because we're going to hit the show tomorrow. I mean, we're going to hit it hard. And like I mentioned, some of these things we say, it may be hard to hear, but it's coming from a place of integrity. When I say these things, I know when Jason says the same thing, it's always from a place of integrity. It's not a deceptive thing that we're putting out. And it may be harsh to hear, but there's a reason why that these things, you're here to hear that message at the time, and you take whatever you want from that message. It's the reason why the message is being put out. Even if it's hard, because the truth sometimes is very ugly. We have to know where we came from in order to not let this happen again in our future. We're here to break cycles. It keeps going back to that, and I've known that since I was little. We have to break the cycles. And that's what we're here to do. It's a hard job of breaking the devil's grasp on this world since its inception, pretty much. Since God says you can have domain over it or dominion over it. We need to let that go, because God put us here to say, you know what? We're not going to let the devil take over and win. But we never did our part. Some of us did. And some of us went out, because they were killed. Or whatever the situation is, because others that didn't fight in this, because more of us that fought, the better. Some of us that chose to fight, and some of us chose to eat popcorn and hoped everything worked out. And a lot of them end up being slaves after the fact. We all became slaves because we didn't do the job of eradicating the problem a long time ago. And it's not the armies, it's none of that stuff. It's the devil itself. It's the deception. Yeah. That's the part that we have to, even these soldiers who go out and go after other soldiers in other countries. It's compartmentalized. It's indoctrination. It's literally in the army. It took it was the hardest thing for me to let go of what I felt inside, to be controlled the way that they control you in the military. And then when I got out of these training scenarios, my goal was I can make rank as fast as I can. There's less people that can tell me what to do. So I made rank as fast as I could do it. So I could have less people to tell me what to do, because I hated that. So I worked around that aspect of the military. It was the hardest thing for me, was somebody telling me all the time what to do, where to be, how to do it. It was very, 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 very difficult. So that's what this whole thing, it's always indoctrination from the school, from the home, even your own home, your own parents. They've been indoctrinated. They're indoctrinating you in their own ways. You think like your parents do. And when you don't think like your parents do, they get upset sometimes when you're younger. If you have your own, if you cause disruptions because of things that you don't agree with, or whatever situation is, and what do? They squash you right away. To tell me I'm your parent, and I'm guilty of this too sometimes. I can say that very humbly. Sometimes my children would say things after the fact now when they're older, and they said these things back in the day. My wife and I are like, wow, our kids were more awake at the time than we were. But the stuff they would just say randomly because they knew inside of them. And we squashed it so much. And that's the part that I feel like we need to get away from it. That type of thing. Squashing others, even your own children, because they disagree with you. Things like that, because that starts in the home. That also drops down, we talked about with Moniqueness. They're afraid to speak up. They're afraid to be the divine feminine. They're afraid to be the divine masculine. They're afraid to speak their mind. They're afraid to move forward, even though they feel inside it's right. They're being told it's wrong. They're just told it's no. Their confidence drops. They get unsure of themselves. That comes back to DHPs. I don't know if I answered your question right or not, but I feel like that's the reason. It's to make you second guess yourself, make you have that self-doubt. That's what this all leads to, is self-doubt. Everything is self-doubt. Like that gentleman said, we're stuck in a system that's very repetitive. It's for doubt and fear. That's all this thing is feeding off of, the fear and the energies. So that's all it is. This whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's all about energy. And we are bringing the divine masculine energy tomorrow at 5:15 Pacific Standard Time with me and the Soldier of Light. Before we leave tonight, I want to leave a little clip for you guys to kind of get a little teaser for what you may be expecting on tomorrow's show with me and the Soldier of Light. So here it is. Let me go ahead and share my screen. This is probably one of the OG truthers of all time. He has everything, 1,000%. Here we go.
Embassy and police. I knew what was coming down. I'm not stupid. I had arranged with the head of security. I was going to come in. He said, sir, we have it from the highest authority. We are not to allow you entry into the U.S. Embassy. Understand me. Who was the highest authority of the State Department? Hillary Clinton. I'm an American citizen with a American passport. I'm sorry. I'm not wanted in America. I've got no crimes in America. Is it not a reason to say, I don't think I'm going to vote for you?
And yet you're here now.
For a month and a half, I was on the run. The reason that the government wanted to collect me was that after they had raided my property in 2012 in the jungle, shot my dog, abused me, destroyed $500,000 worth of my property over a bogus charge, I was pissed off. And so I donated to many secretaries within the government laptop computers, really nice ones that were preloaded with viral spyware. Within a week, the entire government computer system was under my control. I was watching, monitoring, listening. I was looking for information that they had set me up for that raid. I didn't find that. I did find out that the Minister of National Defense was the largest drug trafficker in all of Central America. And the Minister of Immigration, the largest human trafficker.
We don't want to get killed by them either, so we're probably not going to.
That's fine. That's fine.
It was getting a little hot in John McAfee's compound, so we decided to.
It's in the U.S.
It's exactly what you were talking about on yesterday's show and then today's show about being who's the highest human trafficking department or country, and it's us. And John McAfee has everything. That's just a little teaser of what you guys can expect for tomorrow's show. 1,000%. 1,000%. We are dropping hot content left and right. We're dropping like truther content. We're dropping like life knowledge. We're dropping like spiritual, like awakenings. We're like, this is like a show that's going to be like found on no other platform, and 1,000% free as always. 1,000%. Like, we're not going to tell you to go over to this pay-per-view channel. No, you're going to find it here, and you're going to find it over at the Light Warrior Network as well. I couldn't do that show. I couldn't do the platform without the Soldier of Light, and we couldn't do it without you guys. You guys are what make the Light Warrior Network function and run. We do have the power. We have all the power. That's it. Everyone does. You guys have it. You don't have to go and search the ends of the earth to find information. Like, we have it within us. We have that power. Stop giving our power away. Stop giving your power away. That's what's being spoken to me. Conserve, like, watch, be cognitive of your energy. Watch where you're sending it, and don't give your power away. Don't put your power into someone else. You have all the power. You have all the knowledge. 1,000%. Brother, I'm going to go ahead and let you close out your show.
So I feel like the first thing we need to do, guys, besides the message that Spirit has, as we've covered it pretty in depth today, is release things that you've been holding on to. And I know many of you have. And continue to do that. You have to release on a consistent basis. Because when you release something new comes into your field. Okay? Fills you up like a cup. And we want your cup to be full. Full of knowledge. Full of spiritual awakening. Like Jason mentioned, full of just life experience. We all have different life experiences, and coming together is very powerful. And if you notice, a lot of this sounds patterny for a lot of you. A lot of it's patterns. I had a rough childhood. I have had many divorces. I've had abusive relationships. It's all about the situation. That it's all literally like it's you can see the patterns. There's pattern development. So it comes back to what Jason is mentioning earlier. It's all about internal. Look inside. God gives you the answers. You have them inside of you, as you mentioned. You have them inside. You just have to unlock them. And then you have to stand in that. When you get the answer, you have to believe it and you have to stand in it. That's what this situation is, because we may get an answer. We may get the answers all the time. Many of you that I pull for or do things for, the answers come from you. I just give you validation. And many of you already know these answers. It's because we don't trust ourselves enough. We don't trust ourselves enough because everything is telling us not to trust ourselves. And once you look inside and trust yourself and release these harsh judgments on yourself, you're going to fly. Your wings are going to open. You're going to break out of this box. And you're going to see things from a very high perspective because you're flying at that point. You have so many things. This is a training course. You're hearing this. This is not an easy place to be. Never has been. But you volunteered to come here at this time. No other time in history you came here at this time. And in order for you to break a cycle for the world and your family and your lineage after you, you have to do your own work. You have to break the cycles that have been taught to you, break the cycles that have been led to you, break the cycles that have been indoctrinated in you. And it's hard to think of things one way, like the spirituality and the religious aspect. There's a difference between being spiritual and religious. The religious, I feel the energy of the religious are going to have the biggest issue with this, because they're going to say this is the devil talking about these things. The devil says, watch out for false prophets. And that's true. There is false prophets. But if you know in your heart, I know my God, I talk to him all the time. all the time. It's like we're talking like, hey, Dad, how you doing? That's how I talk to God. I don't have formal ways of praying. I do say my certain things, but I don't pray the same, like, or would you ever call? I just talk to him, and he answers me. And he answers me when I asked him from a good place in my heart. And I feel very blessed for that. When I ask, I receive. And he will do the same for you when you're ready for that message as we speak. It's only when you're ready for that message will you receive it. It may come to you right in front of you right away, but you may not notice it yet because your energy isn't at that place. And mention, when your eyes are ready to see that, you will see it. When your ears are ready to hear these things, you will hear it. Comes back to what I mentioned at the beginning of the show with my brother. He heard, or he listened to what I was saying, but he didn't hear it. Another perspective, and when God says, he shook him and said, hey, he did shake him to his core with what's going on, what happened with him. That turned him. God says, wake up. That was the message that was delivered, and it came from me, but it was through God. So these messages may come from somebody who may trigger you. Just like I mentioned, it may say something harsh, but there's something in that message for you. Even if you don't like what was said, you don't agree with what was said, there's something in that message for you to hear if you have the ears to hear it. It comes back to stepping back, looking at things from a different perspective, and continuing to grow and work. It's a work in progress, Even when you pass and go on from this earth plane, it's a work in progress. It's a work in progress. It's always going to be that way because you're coming back to God. You're making your levels. As I mentioned, the stairway to heaven is multiple levels, and you have to master that level before you ascend to the next level. And once you're at that point where God says, you've done everything I've asked you to do, welcome home, son. Welcome home, daughter. He's calling you. We hold God back, ourselves, our relationship with God. We hold it back because we're stuck in our patterns. We're stuck in these matrices. We have to get this. We have to do this. We have to do that. And the last thing that we ever have time for is to go inside. God loves when you go inside. That's when you're the most connected to him, is when you're inside and you're telling yourself, I love you. I love you. And you're talking about yourself. I love you. If you ever put your hand over, I want you guys to do that now. If you put your hand over your heart, put your hand and here, right where your belly is, where your belly button, put your palm over your belly button and your hand over your heart. And I want you to close your eyes and I want you to tell God and yourself, I love you. I love you. I love you. Those are the most powerful words you can ever tell yourself or God. I love you. And it's because when you love yourself, you love God. God loves you so much. He'll feel your heart. He'll feel your spirit. He'll feel all the things going on with you. He'll calm your mind. Tell yourself throughout your day. Just put your hand over your heart. Even if you say Pledge of Allegiance, same thing. People think you may be saying it, maybe just rubbing your chest. Put your hand in your chest and just, I love you. In your mind, you don't have to say it out loud. I love you. It's the intention. And that's where you're going to have the most growth. The most growth. And I did do the solar plexus. Is right. Exactly. The solar plexus in the heart. That's where this is, because your heart, your solar plexus is your confidence. That's what God wants. That's the biggest message tonight, is your confidence. Working on that. And your heart, opening your heart to healing. It's all tied together with these blockages. We just removed some blockages right now for some of you, I feel. Yeah. Do that on a continual basis. And you will become more rooted and more grounded and more calm in your life, in a place of peace. I'm in the most peaceful place I was for a long time, and then I got into some other things and I got disrupted with my peace. And I've already put this stuff behind me, and I've been back into this peaceful place again where I feel very calm. I feel no matter if the world ended today, I know, and I'm not saying that as an arrogant, I know God has already told me. Jesus has already told me, you've made it. Come to me. And I want you guys to feel that. Feel that love that's flowing through you. God is with you. He'll never leave you. Even if you feel you're alone, he's not. He wants to help you. He wants to love you. He wants to fulfill, but you have to do it yourself. You work through God and God works through you. That's where the synergy happens, that we forget. We feel like we call upon some God or deity, whatever you want to say, and then this deity is going to just grant us wishes because you're connected to that soul with God. You're a fraction of God. And that's what this is that's when you're connected to God. That's like that belly button thing where you have that energy cord from your belly to God. That's him saying, we're connected. We're connected. So that's where you get the most awakening of your spirit. That's when you release these things. Tell God, please take this heartache from me. I give it to you so humbly. You just ask him like you're talking to your father or your mother, whatever the situation is, and let it go from a place of love. And your energy will radiate so beautifully because God is going to love you and hug you, and he's going to protect you. So stop living in fear. God is here. He's here. He's here in the flesh. I know he is. I know it. He's here in you. Now we have to use that power God gave us to move forward and defeat the evil. We have to do our part. We have to do our part.
I love that, brother. Absolutely love it. And that is a perfect way to close tonight's beautiful episode. So, guys, stay tuned tomorrow. Soldier of Light, Prince of Peace. Tomorrow, Light Warrior Network. Be there or be square. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.
Love you guys.
Bye.